rural market, Star Health, we offer a 20% discount for the rural population. So I think it's not it's a no-brainer now. Everybody has to have a health insurance, and the earlier they do so, the better it is. That's my message.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. Last 2 minutes, Mr. Vijay Kumar. The same question to you. What would be the new normal, and what is the new normal, and where does the future lie?
Yeah, so Arpit, the new normals can be of many type. The COVID has taught us, and the new normal has to be analyzed, in two parts. One is the business environments. The other is, within the company, the way we, look at the entire business. So I remember one of the conference about 2 years back. I think one of the consultant actually gave a presentation in FICCI that the auto sector will be taken over by insurance sector, in 2023. So, but looking at the scenario that we have today, the way the auto sector is degrown, almost by more than 50%, and insurance has managed to float around. I think the situation is much different than what we actually thought or everybody envisaged. So there can be many such surprises, in the future as well. A lot of things are happening around. We see some major border, skirmishes happening, which can also these, and the way the government is looking at Make in India policy, I think can change things drastically. So within the company, I think as Anand has rightly mentioned that there are a lot of changes are bound to happen, and we actually planned right from beginning. About 2 years back, 3 years back, when we started, all these things were factored. Not we thought that maybe COVID will be there, but as a natural thought process that we have to innovate and work differently. So as a result, work from home is absolutely a normal phenomena. I think there is no negative impact of work from home. The entire operations are operation team is working from home. And as a result, because of the efficiency actually is improved, and in terms of claim settlement ratio, percentage of online settlement, percentage of online policy issuance actually has gone up. Customer NPS also has improved, because now customer is much more friendly to the technology than he used to be or she used to be before. So in terms of office, the way the office utilization is there, I think initially we thought that why we should have branches. So that has that thought process has been supported by the current development, where we really don't feel that too many offices are required. But at the same time, one should not think that with this new normal. There is bound to be impact on the social responsibility or job, on the job losses, etc. We are still in the process of recruiting people, even in this period also. So and these are the few things which already has happened, I think. And going forward, as Anand has rightly mentioned, the time has changed. You never know what will happen. Today it is COVID, tomorrow you don't know what is stored in the destiny. So my request to the public in general is that get yourself insured, and don't think it is a waste of money. Okay, and whenever time comes, I think really then you'll be protected at that good time. Otherwise, I think it'll be suffering and suffering.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Kumar. Thank you, Mr. Anand. I think I can say out of this discussion that insurance acceptance and penetration in India has rapidly increased, especially with this pandemic COVID came into picture. There are new insurance business models. And when we talk about technology, insurtech, so while reaching out to the rural masses, rural populace, technology has played a very important role ensuring a progressive future for the insurance industry. And one major point that has came out of the discussion, that there has been an increased inclination of the younger generation towards the insurance, though lately. So I think with this, we should conclude the session, and I would like to thank our esteemed panelists for this session. Mr. Vijay Kumar, CEO and Principal Officer, Go Digit General Insurance Limited; Mr. Anand Roy, Managing Director of Star Health and Allied Insurance Company Limited; and one of the panelists who is not in the screen, but he was since the beginning of the panel, Mr. Visheshwari Singh, CEO and CMO of Universal Sompo General Insurance. And very well raised point in the panel discussion on growing insurance acceptance in India, new insurance business models, and the growth of insurtech. Thank you, Mr. Anand. Thank you, Mr. Vijay.
Thank you, Arpit.
Namaskar.
Thank you so much, all the eminent panelists, for this great discussion, and thank you, Arpit, for moderating this session so wonderfully. And we close the session here. I thank all of you again. And now we'll be moving on for a short networking break. I request all of you to please network with each other in the networking lounge, and please visit the expo. Thank you.
भारत एक युवा देश है। विश्व में हमने युवाओं की आईटी एनर्जी के माध्यम से अपना एक रुतबा खड़ा किया है और भारत इसके बात के लिए गर्व कर सकता है। दुनिया में हम आंख में आंख मिला करके बात कर सकते हैं। और ये मेरा साफ, मैं हमेशा कहता आया हूँ, आईटी प्लस आईटी इज इक्वल टू आईटी। इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी प्लस इंडियन टैलेंट इज इक्वल टू इंडिया ग्रोथ।
Today, sensitive data is everywhere. Data is located in many places, from on-premises data centers to the cloud. Siloed and legacy approaches can't quickly respond to evolving data privacy and protection regulations, and aren't addressing new hacker tactics, leaving organizations exposed. Data is being distributed across cloud and hybrid environments at accelerated rates to meet the demands of the growing remote workers, further adding to the complexity of protecting sensitive data. A piecemeal collection of data security products operated by an overburdened staff will never meet today's compliance and security challenges. An easier and unified approach to discover, protect, and control sensitive data everywhere is the only pragmatic way to protect your organizations at the rate and scale required by today's risks and transformation initiatives. Data security and compliance starts with finding your exposed sensitive data before hackers and auditors. This data can be in many forms: files, databases, and big data, and can rest across storage on your premises, in clouds, and across backups. Once you've identified databases and file systems that contain sensitive data, you can then apply data-centric protection, such as encryption, granular access controls, and tokenization. For encryption and tokenization to successfully secure sensitive data, the cryptographic keys themselves must be secured, managed, and controlled by your organization. Finally, virtually every data security regulation and mandate requires organizations to be able to monitor, detect, control, and report on authorized and unauthorized access to data and encryption keys. The CipherTrust Data Security Platform is an integrated suite of data-centric security products and solutions that unify data discovery, protection, and control in one solution. Thales has pushed the innovation envelope to remove complexity from deploying data security, accelerate time to compliance, and secure cloud migrations. The platform provides powerful tools to discover and classify the data that your organization should be protecting, protect against external threats and insider abuse with robust encryption, granular access controls, and tokenization strategies. Control your data wherever it is stored with strong centralized key management. The many solutions available on the CipherTrust Data Security Platform can be deployed individually or in combination, so you can secure your organization's most sensitive data without increasing deployment and operations complexity. This results in less resources dedicated to data security operations, ubiquitous compliance controls, and significantly less risk across your business. You can rely on Thales to help you discover, protect, and control your organization's most sensitive data, wherever it resides. To learn more, visit Thales' CipherTrust Data Security Platform.
I welcome all of you after this short networking break. We move on to the next panel discussion. The topic of the discussion is technologies and the future of insurance. How artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, and robotics process automation shall deliver on industry expectations. I introduce the panelists to you. Ms. Puneet Kaur Kohli, Chief Technology Officer and Chief Information Officer of Universal Sompo General Insurance Company. Mr. K.V. Deepu, President and Head of Operations, Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. Mr. Nishant Rathi, Founder and Chief Executive Officer of NeoSoft Technologies. And the moderator for this session is Mr. Awais Saeed, who is Chief Risk Officer in SBI General Insurance. So over to you, Mr. Awais. I hand over the session to you, and please start the panel discussion. Thank you.
Good evening, all. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing with us on this interesting topic of technology and future of insurance. We'll be talking about the big trends, the latest trends which we are seeing, which the industry can benefit from your views and ideas around artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, and the robotic process automation. Before we go into the topic and try and understand what various companies are trying to do at individual capacity, I would request each panel member to give their introduction, which company they belong to, and what do they do. So I'll start with Deepu.
Thanks, Awais. Good to meet all of you. I handle operations, customer service, and communities at Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. And in my role, my primary mandate is to drive digital transformation. I've been with Bajaj Allianz for more than 4 years now. And prior to that, I worked with G Capital for 20 years. So looking forward to a good discussion with all of you.
Thank you, Deepu. Puneet.
Good evening. I'm Puneet Kaur Kohli, and thank you, Awais, for the opportunity. I've recently joined as a CTO for Universal Sompo General Insurance Company Limited. Prior to this, I was working as a group CTO and CIO for Manappuram Finance Limited and taking care of the complete digital transformation, IT, and technologies for them.
Thank you. Nishant.
Thanks, Awais. Glad to meet all of you at this forum. This is Nishant Rathi. I am the founder and director at NeoSoft Technologies. We work in a number of digital transformation journeys for insurance companies and a lot of other companies in the BFSI segment. I believe I'll be able to contribute a lot over here and be able to share some of the experiences while we've been helping various organizations in their journeys.
Thank you so much, Nishant. Thank you so much to all the fellow panel members for bringing your introduction over here. I think the entire industry have been catapulted for almost 4 years into the future after this particular pandemic event, right? This event has given us a leverage, and we all have moved 4 years or 5 years into the future. What we would have thought we will be doing around in the next 4-5 years, we have started factoring those ideas, started factoring those projects and those initiatives. I think not only us, everybody around. We never thought our kids will do online assignments so easily, and children will be doing their schools virtually. The whole space of technology has completely and drastically moved so well, and we have all managed so well. We never thought that we will be able to manage this entire pandemic for such a long period. And I think thanks to all the people who are managing technology and who have invested in so heavily into this technology for the last so many years, we are now able to reap the advantage of whatever technology we have invested into. My first question to start to the panel members is: can we definitely say that technology is the future of insurance, and can we create a certainty around saying that the most agile and the most adaptive will lead and survive? Because every day, if you look into what the CEOs are talking, almost 10 out of 10 CEOs, they strongly believe that digitize or die. So what is your view onto this? Anyone from the panel can go, and then we can build up onto this.
So I'll take that. Definitely, I mean, we've been a part of a number of transformation journeys, AI, ML, blockchain, deep learning, and so on. So we definitely see that a lot of organizations are changing. Technology continues to push their boundaries. They have to innovate. They have to, find new ways of, doing the same tasks. For example, if you look at the banking sector, today you have app first, so people are not walking into branches, they're looking at their apps and doing the same traditional activities which they used to do. Similarly, insurance companies as well have been able to get onto that bandwagon, the app wagon, to a great extent. Now with artificial intelligence, machine learning, there are chatbots which can help and improve customer service. There's data which can help you with KYCs. So definitely there's a lot of reskilling happening, and which will need to happen in the industry. We as Newsoft, we've been a part of, like I said, many journeys. So we help companies, or we help organizations create this entire ecosystem within their organization. So we have the expertise, experience which comes from implementation, across international and Indian companies. And that's how we help organizations. I believe this is here to stay. Technology is here to stay, and it's going to improve and change our lives as we move ahead.
Thank you so much, Nishant. Deepu, Puneet.
Yeah. So, Aves, if you look at what has happened, during the pandemic, is when everybody worked from home and everything became paperless and digital. Everybody realized the value of these digital assets. And I can maybe talk about our story, because obviously that's the experience I can relate to. So when we had the lockdown, and then call centers had to kind of shut down overnight, our digital assets came to the fore, right? We have an AI driven chatbot, we have WhatsApp, we have a mobile app. Overnight, our servicing moved to 80% of our total inflow, and that continues even to this day, which obviously shows that technology and digital tools will continue to help us. Similarly, if you look at the entire life cycle, whether it is policy issuance or whether it is claims, which is the moment of truth, we have launched a series of digital interventions over the years. On policy issuance, we've enabled our advisors and our distribution partners to issue policies using digital tools. So today more than 90% of our policies are issued digitally. Similarly, if you look at claim, which is the moment of truth of the insurance industry, on travel insurance, we launched a blockchain-driven claim settlement solution way back, nearly 3.5 years back. So here, customers, don't even have to notify us of the claim. We get in touch with them proactively and we pay the claim, which is a significant valuation from an insurance point of view. Similarly, if you look at motor insurance, which is the biggest line of business in insurance, today customers do not have to worry about calling us up, getting a surveyor to visit them, and then go through the entire IGMA role. They can basically click photographs, send it to us using the mobile app. Using a combination of expertise and AI, we get back to them within 20 minutes and make the payment. So the whole process end to end happens in about 20 to 30 minutes. So if digital has brought convenience to customers and in a sustained manner over the last 7 months, certainly here to stay, going forward.
Thank you so much on that. Puneet, you want to share something on this?
I would like to have the question repeated once again. Sorry.
So we are just trying to discuss that. Is it the point? Definitely makes a relevance that is technology the future of insurance, and will the most agile and most adaptive will survive, and rest all will stay behind?
Definitely, it is. The old story talks itself. The Darwin story, the survival of the fittest, right? So it has the same mapping over here. The pandemic times has brought about the complete change the way everybody is living their lives. It's we call it as the new normal. So the flexibility of working from anywhere is only possible after extending all this digitalization and the convenience that we have given not only to our customers, but also to our, the entire ecosystem. You talk about the partners, your brokers, or you talk about advisory, or you even, the B2B and B2C, whatever, means the mechanism where, the issuance of the policy from onboarding till engagement definitely plays a very big role, and it has really played a pragmatic role in terms of when it talks about robotic process automation with zero down of total manual intervention. There is at least no manual intervention. RPS playing a very big role in terms of automations, and even in terms of finance and accounts, bank clearances, bank reconciliations. Then claims management, as very rightly pointed out by Deepu, blockchain plays a very big role in terms of claims management end to end. Then thirdly, about the artificial intelligence or the deep learning, probably when we talk about, one has to do a cross sell and upsell, and where the artificial intelligence plays a very big role. The entire average cycle of a person who is insured with us for a 365 days in terms of a general insurance. So be it motor or health, or maybe even for a household insurance, it is like 365 days. Even if they say that, we don't have to even give them a reminders, SMS, or you can say the trigger based analytics plays a very big role in terms of, in case people want to continue with the same policy, the renewal happens on its own. The premium, directly goes to as an ECS through their bank accounts, even so much so that insurance portability in case it is somebody is requiring. So all these things is doable only through the online and digital mechanisms, where there is no branch concept, nothing. So people sitting anywhere through any, you can say device agnostic approach or a web agnostic approach, the digital tools are playing a significant role, and it's going to last for long, definitely.
So thanks. Just building on this particular point, before March, we were all not prepared for this scenario, right? We never thought that it will stretch for such a long period of time. Can I say that we were just lucky in this particular situation, and the technology supported us, because none of the industry was ever prepared to take this entire scale of work in work from home scenarios. But still, we all managed successfully. Not a single company had any glitches or any problem. Small glitches here and there. So, but do you think we were lucky, and we need to create more resilience around our technology platform when we talk about the challenges in the future?
Yes, Avez. Deepa, would you like to take, or I can take and you can follow it?
No, you please go ahead. I'll speak once you speak.
Okay, so Avez, it's not about people played only during the pandemic times. The digitalization was a wave almost like 3
Right.
to 4 years back or 5 years back. And basically, because since the market trend was do digital, and everybody was going through the phase of digitalization, not through emerging technologies, but definitely an end-to-end automation, what we talk about. I think so that played a significant role. And the companies who were not prepared had really felt some glitches. It was in fact, the digitalization, what was done as a part of the trend setting, was the time when companies had to take an ordinate steps in terms of capitalizing on all those digitalization and automation which took place almost 3 to 4 years back. It was reaping its benefit during these pandemic times. That is where we as a technology, or what we are the facilitators, when we facilitate and give these convenience to our end customers or our end stakeholders, whether they are directly utilizing those conveniences or not, that was a time which showed and reaped its benefit. So I must say that the people who moved along with the market trends were able to reap its benefit, and they were even productive, and the performance was multifold, because there was no concept of 9 to 5 kind of a concept. It was like working from anywhere, working in no times, and 24/7 the operations were working that way.
Thank
So
you so
it was
much.
better.
Yeah. So Avais, since you asked about luck, I read a very interesting definition of luck sometime back, and the definition of luck is, preparation meets opportunity. So,
Perfect.
a lot of players, were prepared because what we need to understand, is that it's not as if the whole world, went through it without glitches, right? Because you had sector-wise impact. There were many sectors, who were adversely affected, and there were some sectors, who were not so adversely affected. And even within sectors, there's a huge variation, between digital leaders and digital laggards, right? So it's not as if it was a seamless switch for everyone. Now, coming to your query around, whether it was luck, like I said, those who were prepared, got into what somebody called very colorfully an unplanned global UAT. This was the largest, lockdown of human beings
Absolutely,
in
well put.
history, right?
Right.
So when that happened, right, I guess those who were ready, they could just overnight gravitate all their customers, from normal manual platforms to digital platforms, and therefore ensure that those capabilities came to the fore. And what has happened with the others is over this period of time, since they didn't have any other option, they had to rush into this, with a lot of speed. And therefore, you are seeing that now everybody is on this wave. Those who are ahead, obviously, continue to try to, make moves to stay ahead. And those who have been laggards, they have caught up. So this is why, if you go back to the earlier question, we said that the digital way of working is now here to stay. So I guess, that's how, the two questions are also interlinked.
So, Deepu, you said that this is a new wave. As a head of operations, when you decide what particular technology to think around, what is your priority around value creation? Is it operations around? Is it claims? Is it customer servicing? Is it distribution? Which particular area you, as a company, are focusing on?
It's very, very simple ways. And based on my own background in GE, I told you that I'd worked in GE for 20 years, right? And I'm a certified Lean 6-month black belt. It always starts with the customer. So we follow a 5-step process. The first thing is you listen to customers' feedback. Second is also interestingly what happens is when customers give you feedback, they give you their stated needs. But if you listen carefully, you can also figure out what their unstated needs are. And I'll give you a couple of examples of what I mean, when I say that you have to figure out their unstated needs. Then you figure out your current inventory of systems and processes, because you will find that typically they may not have been built historically, keeping the customer at the center of everything that a company does. Then using principles of Lean Six Sigma, you re-engineer and reconfigure your current systems and processes, the entire landscape, to meet the customer's needs. And then you basically go out and deploy the right tech stack. So the tool that you use has to meet the customer's need. It is not about latching onto the latest buzzword or to the latest bandwagon just because people are talking about blockchain or people are talking about IoT, and therefore you want to do it for the sake of deployment. The rubber has to hit the road in terms of meeting the customer's need. And typically, when it comes to execution, you also pick a minimum viable product, as in what we call MVP. You don't go for perfection. And then once you launch it, you keep taking customer feedback. It's an iterative process. That's what Lean Six Sigma teaches you. And then you keep perfecting it. Now, just to give you an example of customers' unstated needs, when the pandemic happened, and this was even before the launch of Arogya Setu, we realized that contact tracing was something which was emerging as a need for customers. Because people basically wanted to understand what is it that we would be doing for them. So we came out with a feature on our mobile app aptly called social trackback, by which they could log in their contacts, and then once you log in your contacts, then right whom you have met, and in case you get affected, whom to inform, and if you have come in contact with them, that you can take care. Similarly, we came out with the doctor on chat feature on a mobile app, again a proactive measure. Get a digital consultation and then go out and buy medicines. We also came out with the COVID-19 self-assessment tool on a mobile app.
Right.
So, they didn't have to go to hospitals. So by doing these, we created value for customers and stayed ahead of the game. It is also reflected in our NPS scores and our grievance ratios. We have an extremely low grievance ratio from the regulator's point of view.
Thank you so much. Just putting this question around to Puneet, being a CTO and CIO. Puneet, we have a lot of pressure. You also said go digital, go digital, go digital. There is a scenario of a concept around digital. When business comes to you for go digital, how do you make sure that you also talk around what ROI is being affected towards the company? How do you, so both for Nishant and Puneet being into the tech thing, how do we justify the ROI for a particular initiative? How do you define that this particular initiative will definitely give you a return? Because as we also spoke during the session, that we try to benchmark with what the industry is doing, but definitely each company is different and each company's customers are different and propositions are different. How do we make sure that we also have a substantial, answerable to whatever ROI we are trying to invest in terms of technological leverage?
Nishant,
so I just want to add to what Deepuji just said in his last statement. You've got to have the front end, the customer, definitely, but there's also the back end, which is your own operation, which has to accept what's happening. Fortunately, a lot of organizations who have done implementation had trained the people at the back who were actually responding back to those customers using these systems. So they've been able to benefit. The ones who hadn't have used this 6-7 months to retrain, reskill their people. Coming back to our first question, to be able to digitally talk to people. We've seen the KYC advertisements, for example, which was, I wouldn't say unheard of, but there was loads of paper which was going to all the different financial institutions every quarter, every 6 months on KYC. Today that happens digitally. So smoothening out or simplifying the process using digital technologies will definitely win. Coming back to the ROI thing, so anything that's digitally enabled today has automatically brought in savings in terms of the people you need, the data you've got to store, the security or the secure environment that you've got to have, and that's definitely going to give benefits in days, weeks, and years to come. And like we all understand, ideas spread like air. So if you have an idea, it'll suddenly if you have an acceptance around in the room on that idea, you want to go ahead and implement it. Again, Deepuji mentioned about the simplest or the smallest product, the MVP that you want to build. That is the right strategy to do. Build up the MVP. Look how it's affecting your environment. See how that can help your organization, and then start adding pieces and bits and pieces to that, and growing it across with the acceptance of your customer and the internal customers that you've got. So I believe ROI will definitely come. The MVP is the right way to do it, to be able to gauge what distance you've got to cover, and of course get acceptance from all the people who are going to be using the system.
Thanks, Nishant. I think a couple of times you have used the word reskill. My question to Deepu and Puneet both is, how do we reskill the future workforce? Is there any thought given by companies?
Yeah, definitely. See, when I would add to what basically just now Nishant has said, one role is definitely to set up a minimal viable product. I also agree with Deepu about it. This is not only that the trend or the market or the fashion is that the new age technology is the new wave and one has to go about it. Everybody knows about their ecosystems, their verticals, their domains, and possibility is that when we get the requirement from the stakeholders, how technology and stakeholder business collaborate together and finalize on one process discovery, do the the benchmarking of the technology. It basically comes with the defining together. A technology is just an enabler as a part of a tool to bridge these gaps. What is really needed is the need of the hour. If we have given one convenience, maybe in case of collections or in terms of the trend is the historical patterns in our organization in terms of defining some algorithm, especially in terms of claims or underwriting or anything. I think so that is something which a person can do only by setting up a MVP and doing some pilot testings on that. When we do the incremental rollouts and rather than waiting for a big bang launch, we launch in small agile approach. I think so then the ROI definitely gets achieved, because when we launch one thing, we come to know what next. Then we basically it's a curiosity what the stakeholders or what the customers or what are the real users of our application or whatever convenience we have given them they are expecting us to do. So that is something when we launch in the beta version or a full-fledged launch or a commercial launch of any particular product, I think so that is a time when we really gauge the value of whether it is a small project or the big product, whatever we get to we launch. Secondly, coming to the skill-based approach, the reskilling is something which is if a person which is benchmarked for last 15 or 16 years, he's been working in technology only, or he is a domain expert in technology, or he is a domain expert maybe in finance. But when he comes to know, he is a person who is an enabler and he is very well versed with technology and he is very abreast with, he has got two technologies. One is he is having a very good domain knowledge on his business. Secondly, he can be very well educated. Supposing if he wants to do some kind of automations only in finance and accounts, whether it is treasuries or any of his sub verticals, he can do, or bank reconciliations or GST and all, he can very well learn RPA. But there is no limitation to it. So he can learn RP and he can be sitting in his own, in his own domain and, do the robotics process automation. He does not have to have any dependency on IT. Backend can be supported by IT where it requires what kind of, technology or the platform we need to give it to him. But when it does an automation, I think so he can be multi-skilled there. Same way within IT also, if a person from infrastructure moves to information security, and because we did this reskilling when they were doing multitasking, people who were working from home, so it was like 24/7 supporting them on, giving them VPNs, giving them work from home facilities, giving RDP accesses and all that stuff. Even information security was working round the clock. Even so much so our internal .NET development people were also working. Even so much so our entire portals ecosystem or the partners ecosystem were not ready for it. So that is how we come to know that there is no dependency. At least we know that we are self-sufficient to handle the technology, what come, what may. So that is what pandemic has really taught us.
So Aves, coming to your point on reskilling, basically 4 dimensions. See, one is when work from home happened all of a sudden, right? People had suddenly recalibrate their own skills because it's a contactless world, right? If you look at sales, it's contactless sales. If you look at interactions, it's basically all contactless. So how do we get people to work on that? The second aspect is we also leverage the fact that for example, if you take the larger cities like Delhi and Mumbai, where people would spend significant amount of time on commute, right? So we basically ensured that we focused on digital L&D, as in learning and development, so that the time just on commute could be spent on learning, and we found a lot of traction on that front. Third thing, Aves, is that as we increasingly get into a world where, let's say, there's remote working, right? The whole idea is how do you ensure that people have information at their fingertips? So if we can democratize and decentralize decision making to the point where people have data available completely at their fingertips, then they can become much more effective, because today they can't come to office, collaborate in groups, sit through discussions and then take it forward. You need to find a new way of getting data out to the folks who are in the field, or who are working from home. So to that extent, how do we ensure that we skill all these folks to make that happen? The fourth is going forward, from an entire reskilling perspective, it is the future of work. Earlier, what used to happen? You would study, you do your graduation, do your post graduation, and then you say, "No, I've studied everything there is to study, and I start working." Right? You start working for the next 30, 40 years. But the future of work is going to be different. You study and then you start working. Maybe within 5 years, you realize you need to go to P-School, because there are new technologies which have come into play, which didn't exist when you were studying. So maybe you go to school, study for 9 months, you come back and then you work. After 5 years, then again you go and study, or maybe 2 or 3 years. So the future is going to be one from complete formal education followed by complete work to study, work, study, work. So from that perspective, we are going to move from episodic learning to continuous learning and continuous reskilling.
There's one thing I want to add over here, from a service provider standpoint, there's learning at both ends, because, we go in with our technology skills while, we at times have domain expertise, sometimes don't have domain expertise. So there's reskilling happening at both ends. While we're learning the domain experts are learning a little bit of the technology and, how RPA or artificial intelligence operates, how is the decision making actually happening. So definitely reskilling is the keyword. The L&D initiative is definitely what a lot of technology organizations and non-tech companies have done to try and make sure that time is properly utilized. People are able to, or people realize now that they're sitting in their rooms, they can't have those social interactions, they can't learn from their colleagues, or they can't do that while they're drinking water or tea in the office. So that's why those L&D initiatives can add a whole lot of value for every organization, and help the individuals reskill and move ahead.
Thanks, Nishant. I think it's a very good point that learning is at both the side. We are also learning technology, and the technology people are learning domain, and that's the reason we say it's a normal phrase to say that we are all now technology company and we are servicing a particular product. Like for us, we are doing a servicing of insurance. Deepu and Puneet, for you especially, this question is, when we talk about benchmarking, do you feel some other industry doing something excellent in this particular technology, and which you think can be very good fit for an insurance industry, be it an artificial intelligence or RPA. Not within the insurance industry, but some other industry they are using, some use case which you want to share or you have any idea on that comes to your mind?
Yeah, so go ahead, Puneet. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Please go ahead.
So first we can say that I would like to use not applicable to insurance industry, but definitely in terms of lending industry. So in lending industry, when artificial intelligence or deep learning, where the CIBIL checks of the before the onboarding of a the basically the before the loan disbursement and anything that happens, probably the scorecard or the CIBIL checks create play a very big role. And in case they are already they could be a prospect or they could be an existing customer. So an algorithm which is a machine based algorithm in terms of underwriting, or when we talk about when we do the credit risk of any person to onboard before, that plays a very big role. And that particular can be a use case in insurance. I not say that is 100%, but there could be some benchmarks from the industry which we can feel are doing their best, and they can be leveraged in terms of health or motor industry, depending on the product lines that the insurance industry wants to cater to or facilitate with.
So, Awais,
Thank you so much,
firstly, from your perspective, from the perspective of the query that, whether we can apply benchmarking across industries, the answer is a clear yes. I'll give you a completely different example to demonstrate this. So there was a hospital chain in the US, and they basically wanted to, reduce their patient waiting time. So, whom they went and studied? They didn't study other hospital chains in the US. They went and studied Toyota in Japan, because Toyota had perfected just in time. So if you notice, they picked up a best practice, not only from a different industry, but from a different country. Then they came back and applied it, in their chain, and they were able to, significantly, reduce, patient waiting time. So the lesson here, is that nobody should have this NIH syndrome. NIH is not invented here, right? Which means you do look outside your industry to pick up best practices. Now, coming to your point, sometimes you don't even have a choice. And I'll tell you what I mean when I say that you don't even have a choice. So today, when you get onto digital assets, when I deploy a chatbot, when I deploy a mobile app, we have to understand that from a customer experience point of view, the customer is not going to compare my bot or my mobile app with the best app or the bot that he has seen in insurance. He is going to compare it with the best bot and the best app that he has ever seen.
Absolutely.
So the moment you get into these industry agnostic digital assets, you do not have a choice. You don't, there is no discretion available. You have to compare yourself with the best in that category. So which means when I come out with an app, or when I come out with a mobile, when I come out with a chatbot, the benchmarking we have done is industry agnostic, right? So it could be a range of players, including players who are not in PFSI. And just to give you an example of where we think we did well, when I told you about the fact that we met customers' unstated needs, and I told you that we launched this contact tracing feature called Social Trackback, we launched Doctor on Chat, we launched COVID-19 self-assessment toolkit. This is not this is not the exclusive prism of insurance. This could have been launched by any player who had those mobile apps. And because we did that, customers rewarded us. When we got an independent NPS survey conducted by an independent third-party agency, we found that we enjoyed the highest scores in the industry and by a significant distance over our competitors. So that's my perspective on this.
Absolutely, I agree to that. I think the tech exploration helps us not only look at a particular industry, but to go beyond geographies and adopt the best of the possible things which can give our customer a good experience. Also, my personal learning is this entire situation of this pandemic has pushed us to identify those processes which are very much heavy in terms of time consumption and money consumption, and we all have started thinking to how do we simplify our own processes, how do I simplify our own solutions. And in doing this efforts, we have all did some quick innovations and small innovations, and a lot of success stories are there around people. I think even the homemakers, how they have tried to sell homemade items using Google Forms. There are so much of innovations people have in the day-to-day life used to even go out and do selling and contactless selling in small grocery shops. How milkmen are using the tech to deliver their milk at the building, and how societies have used technology to make sure that there is a proper social distancing being managed, the COVID contact tracing has been managed, and everything is managed. Do you have such processes and any example you want to share which had not been this pandemic in discussion, you wouldn't have changed a particular process. Has there been any such use cases which, if you don't mind sharing with us?
So there have been a number of cases where, as far as we are concerned, we are industry agnostic. We work with banking, we work with insurance, we work with manufacturing, we work with e-commerce, retail, all of them across the board. Like Deepuji rightly said, you're being compared to the best app over there and not the best insurance company when it comes to an app. So there are a lot of ideas which can actually be utilized. The simplest of them being chatbots, and which were initially only used for customer support. Today they're being used by anybody and everybody. A very good use case is, I believe, everybody who's using Vodafone, Airtel, or Jio uses WhatsApp to exchange information and get their information using a bot instead of calling in the customer support and getting information. So that is a definite use case which has come on board today. If you look at how companies have transformed, it's also reduced. So in the pandemic, what happened? People were not even, the call centers went down, and people were not able to report, or rather, the call center executives were not able to report to work, and which meant there was a whole lot of call load which was coming in. So how do you optimize that? You allow people, or you get your chatbots in, you put in the right amount of data into them, and they respond back to people. So that, I believe, I'm sure everybody will be able to relate to that, and has been a part of this information exchange over WhatsApp or SMS, in the good old days where we used to SMS the option and it would keep responding back to us. So that's how the transformation has happened. That's how we've been able to reduce those workloads on those call center executives, and improve the overall customer satisfaction or customer query closure rates.
Thanks, Vishal.
So let me add to that, Awais, and talk about it from 4 dimensions. One is the point that you made, saying that what have we done afresh during the pandemic. One, like Nishant rightly said, what happened is, there are times when weeks happen in decades, and there are times when decades happen in weeks. So here, because the assets were ready, they zoomed dramatically over the first few weeks. So that was one way in which the adoption went up. So it was not about launching anything new, it was just about utilizing what it already created. The second example of which is directly to your question about what we created, I just gave you those examples of what we did on the mobile app, right? COVID-19 self-assessment, social trackback for contact tracing, doctor on chat. These were specific digital assets launched on the mobile app for the ease of customers. The third thing which has happened is, as we go into the new normal, right? I think now everybody has come out with a fairly clear work from home, and a work from office policy, right? I think that is something new which has happened during the pandemic. The fourth thing, whenever we discuss, digital transactions, I think most of us tend to forget that behind any digital transaction, the initiator and the recipient, they are human beings, because it is not a machine-to-machine, transaction. So we shouldn't forget the human angle. So one thing we did here, I think, which really was, a revelation even for us, was initially we were worried about, keeping our employees engaged because they were socially and physically distanced. But we said, how do we keep them, digitally and emotionally connected? So what we did, we converted adversity into opportunity. When people are in the office, you only come out with employee engagement programs. Now that people were working from home, we came out with family engagement programs. So they're working from home, let's come out with the family engagement program. So that was something new that we did, from an employee perspective. So one weekend, for example, we came out with a MasterChef competition. We had everybody's, families participating, right? Somebody's mother, somebody's wife, somebody's cousin, somebody's daughter. And we have a WhatsApp group. People all over India, from Kerala to Punjab to Rajasthan to Bengal, were busy posting recipes and photographs of their dishes. And then, that motivated us to come out with a lot more family engagement programs. So much so that our employee engagement score during the pandemic was higher than our employee engagement score prior to the pandemic.
Super, good to know that. Puneet, you want to share anything on that? You definitely are new to Universal Sampo, but I think
we also did some, but we at our community, as a part of the CIO and CTO community, we did a lot of family engagement programs. It was more of like, a series of, people, master chefs, that, as we are telling, they engaged with some, like, a motivational speaker, or a program where, people wanted to showcase, what exactly is their core activity. Some of the CIOs who were like, very good at singing and playing and all that stuff, they were coming up and along with their families. So, the revolution came where we used to have once in a year family program about the CIO, CTOs in their respective geographies. So we, all India, Pan India came with almost like more than 500 to 1,000 CIOs with their family engagements and all that stuff. And, and then the reward and recognition programs were also there. So that also, created a sort of that technology is not only limited to CTO, CIOs, but only we extended that to their families as well. So CIO club initiatives were quite good for us also as a part of the engagement programs. Secondly, in terms of, a value creation, what we can say, more and more collaborative tools which were available in the past were not being used. But I think so more on in terms of motivation, doing morning huddles, creating, a team engagement, really created a very big role. Whether the project management tool was only tracked in terms of like what is like whether it is in a month the target dates are getting delivered or things. So over deliver, over engagement, and in terms of like incentivizing the to keep the morale of the employees quite high during these pandemic times, I think was the need of the hour. And it was like keeping more and more engagement not only with the customers but also in terms of employees. So this also was enabled only through technology.
Absolutely right. I just got to recall a funny incident of engagement. I think some of the areas we have engaged too much with the customers. Many times employees have been told to reach to a customer and understand how he or she is doing. And people in full honesty and innocence have been calling up customers every day. They say, "Sir, how are you doing? Are you well or not?" Making sure that the customer get pissed off with this question every day. Just moving forward, we understand this entire technology around this insurance domain will definitely try to reduce claims, improve services. And when we talk about reduce claims, we also talk about reduce premium. So can we say, I'm just trying to speculate this particular question to the forum, can we say that the future, the tech, emergence of tech is also trying to, there is a threat to the insurance business as such? No? So with increased technology, we are reducing claims, right? With artificial intelligence, money learning, predictive analysis, we'll be trying to reduce claims, and reduce claims will in further reduce premium amount. So can we say that there is a huge amount of risk to the mitigation industry, what we call as insurance industry?
I think it's too early to come up with a full ranging what shall I say, sweeping statement on this entire aspect, because what we need to understand is that business models will need to evolve, right? Business models cannot be static, and that's been the nature of any industry. Just to give you one example, if you look at health insurance, right? Typically, when do you invoke insurance? You invoke insurance during illness, right? But if you look at a customer's life cycle or the journey with the insurer, obviously, if you look at that journey and break it into the wellness portion and the illness portion, the ratios don't even match, right? I mean, it's just completely disproportionate. Now, as an insurer, you need to decide whether you are going to be there with him only during his illness time, or are also going to be there with him during his wellness time. If you make a choice to be more engaged and you're there with the customer during his entire journey, whether it is wellness or illness, right? In a sense, then you also move from curing to prevention. Because let's say you partner with him in a way that he takes care of his health, then he never ends up being in a hospital, to even be in a position where he may need to get hospitalized and subsequently lodge a request for a claim. Now that's a strategic shift, right? You're moving from illness to wellness. Now when that happens, you need to look at all the variables which come in, and sometimes you need to figure out what is the driver. Is the driver revenue, or is the driver true customer centricity? And we have always believed that what is truly good for the customer is good for the company and good for the industry. So therefore, I think if you keep the customer the fulcrum of everything that you do and you gravitate in that direction, then the business model, on its own, will start yielding some results over a period of time. And we'll have to see, how that plays itself out, right? The other area in general insurance, for example, is the weather, right? The weather plays a significant role. Now, we have seen two things which have happened. One is that the so-called black swan events have become far less infrequent over the years, right? They've become much more frequent now. It's no longer once in a lifetime event or once in a 5-year event. Exactly. They've become much more frequent. Absolutely. The other is then even if you look at climate change, right? It is possibly one of the underrated topics today, but it will have a significant bearing on the way insurers conduct themselves for a period of time. So there are far too many variables that play away. So it's not easy to come out with a sweeping statement. All I can say is, we kind of wait and watch and see how it happens and take it one step at a time. But definitely each variable as it comes into play will change the business model as we go forward. Be it climate, be it movement from illness to wellness, where you have a better engagement. Also usage of more data. This movement from from curing to prevention. When you put all of that together, the insurer who comes into existence or who will stay relevant, let's say 5 years later, could look very different from the insurer in the form and fashion that you knew it 5 years back. Therefore, I think it can't be like a simple sweeping statement one can make. One has to study it and come out with a considered point of view over the next 5 years.
Also, Deepu, what I feel is that, like, the patterns of, like, the prescriptive and predictive analysis will definitely have its new definition now, because with each evolvement, when we do that, the technology, or the risk, as very rightly pointed out by Aves, that with the each new experience, we are just going to evolve with the new normal. So once this evolvement is becoming significant, then only we can really see that it is a big threat, or it becomes like a more of a benefit, or it will become a threat. So I think so it will be an opportunity, or it will be turning down the business. I think so it is still, I can say that we cannot really predict about it.
Yeah, I agree to it. I think a lot of opportunity will be emerging for us. New products will be coming up. I think penetration will significantly increase. Profitability of organization will significantly increase. I think the market might, we don't all know at this particular moment, but definitely the product dimensions will change, the distribution models will change, and how we do the profitability and how customers benefit out of it everything will change. I think very shortly. We have been listening to what insurtechs are trying to do, a lot of new scientific ways of predicting what particular ailment somebody will go through and what particular driving pattern somebody have, even without using a telematic device, put it in the car. So behavioral analysis will come into picture. So it's going to be a very interesting space for all of us to wait and watch. Nishant, you have some insights to share for us?
So a lot of products, not only in the insurance industry, but other industries as well, are going to become obsolete. So once you have driverless cars, there are certain insurance policies which may not be needed. We're talking about millennials not wanting to own anything. They're happy, just experiencing it. So now you see there are a lot of products which are anyway going to get obsolete. Even, whether it's the automotive sector or the insurance sector, which is linked to the automotive sector, and either or. But there are products which are going to get obsolete. So definitely there is a need for companies to innovate. Technology is going to fuel that innovation. You have to innovate. There is no other option.
So you're saying you are agreeing to the fact that digitize or die, right?
Absolutely.
And I like the example which Deepu gave about innovation. Innovation need not just be simply copying somebody else's mechanism. It also has to be something which is very which fits into your ecosystem, adds a value to your ecosystem, irrespective who is doing it. So I think we have covered a good amount of discussion around this particular topic, and still you have anything to share? I think we'll love to take it.
I think we had a range of topics we covered, and I guess we've also consumed all the time available.
Any key wins, any key successful thing I think you want to share? Any one key event in your organization which you want to share, which has helped the technology has helped you?
I think I spoke about the fact that we had invested in digital assets right up front, and they really came to the fore during the shift from the call center to a digital way of working, when the lockdown was thrust upon us, right? Because it happened at very short notice. And I think what is heartening for us is the fact that, even today, 70 to 80% of our servicing continues to be digital. So which means, we really did build good customer journeys. And the biggest validation we got was in the form of a huge dip in our customer complaints during that period. Our customer complaints came down by 90%.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's a big number. That's a big number.
Right. I want to actually talk about employee engagement, which I think Deepuji or Puneet, one of them, actually highlighted. The fact that organizations, whether insurance or otherwise, have invested in various employee engagement programs. The digital platforms have somehow been the most successful. And I believe this is a very big change that you're going to see in times to come, where most of it will be one to one rather than one to many, or organization to all the people getting engaged as employees. So building and investing in those employee engagement platforms should be something that has to be should be considered by every organization, whether or not whatever industry you are in. That will help you save a lot of money, uh, and of course improve employee satisfaction levels, connection levels, to the greatest of levels. So I believe that's a great use case during COVID times, where everything is digital.
Deepu, I think Nishant, Puneet, and Deepu, everyone, a similar question just came to my mind. We are talking about touchless distribution, and when we say insurance is a subject matter of solicitation, how do we solicit customers? Will this new shift benefit the customer when the things becomes normal, or will the customer want to continue with this particular way of doing business?
See, always one thing we have seen is that insurance continues to be a push business, right?
Right.
That's why it's a hugely distribution-led business. So what we have done, for example, is enable our advisors to continue to service and of course sell policies to customers using digital tools, right? So as I said, it's about contactless sales, right? Now here, obviously, like insurance being a subject matter of trust, while the mode has changed, your values don't change, right? Which means, for example, your consent is explicit, your transparency is complete, and you need to make sure that you inform the customer right upfront about all the aspects of inclusions, exclusions, and so on and so forth. So I guess there is absolutely no gainsaying that. I guess why customers are going to gain is because one is now, it's a shorter sales cycle, right? You don't have to wait, make long physical visits, wait 2-3 times, right? You get onto a call and, you kind of can do it faster. And also when you get into a digital way of working, the entire process, gets crunched into a lean one, right? Because electronic exchange of information, quicker digital payments, and therefore, faster output coming to customers' way. So I guess digital way of life will only make it simpler for everyone, right? Because it just cuts out all the inefficiencies, which were inbuilt into the system, over a period of time. So that is, the second way that I see it. Thirdly, as far as data and customer choice is concerned, from a privacy perspective, it's always about choice. So, for example, when we launched IoT-based products, we always told customers, the choice is yours. You give us more, we can give you a more refined and a more personalized product. But if you do not want to share data, then you can take the vanilla off-the-shelf product. So I think with availability of products and with a clear choice to customer and explicit communication, I guess it should only become better for customers, partners, and the insurance company, which means the entire ecosystem going forward.
A lot of work for CIOs and CTOs. Puneet?
Very true. What exactly Deepu is trying to say, I fully agree on it. I think so. It is more of a customized, a personal touch, which probably was being given extended during the personal visits. So these digital tools like video KYC or like facial recognitions and all that stuff is giving the convenience, which is like so fast tracked. Basically, maybe it's only the the customer has to think when he says he has a face-to-face interaction on videos and all of them. See, he just has to think that I'm finding a right product for me and my family, and which is giving me this convenience. I think so. That is something which is giving them a trust factor, and then it is going to evolve day by day. I'm just thinking that the companies are evolving, and it is the faster policy processing, faster recognition, and everything is only through technology it is happening, and this is going to further evolve only.
Yeah, I think I would also agree to that. Some of the consumers are actually going to stay back on the digital platforms. In fact, I would say a majority of them. From a company standpoint, I believe that for companies for an insurance company, if they're saving money and they're also running the same or achieving what they were achieving with the personal touch, I believe digital first is going to get accepted. We've seen most of our customers looking at building on that MVP. Some of them have gone to version 2, version 3, and now already dreaming about having a completely different version, looking at what are the trends in the industry. So again, if you're not the first mover, it doesn't matter, but look at what is available, look at what you can replicate into your current organization and your current client base, and that's it. That will help you move ahead.
You have to keep on moving. That's important. Absolutely well put in. I think to end this whole conversation, amazing insights. I think so much to learn from all the seasoned panelists. Thank you so much for being with us. It was a great learning for us. I think how the technology is exploring, how do we, becoming a device agnostics, how employee engagement is helping, what are the latest market trends building up, how we are trying to reskill employees, how there is a new level of engagement, both in terms of customer and employees. So much to learn around this entire 1 hour spent well. I think my heartiest thanks to all of you for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge.
Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Puneet and Nishant for wholeheartedly sharing their views, and thanks to Aves for moderating it well.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity as well.
Right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, always. Thanks, Dipuji, and thank you, Puneet.
Thank you all. We'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, eminent panelists of this wonderful discussion, and thank you, Mr. Aves, for great moderation. And here we close for the lunch break. So I request all of you to please visit the expo also, and look forward to see you after the lunch. Thank you.
भारत एक युवा देश है। विश्व में हमने युवाओं की आईटी एनर्जी के माध्यम से अपना रुतबा प्राप्त किया है और भारत इसके बात के लिए गर्व कर सकता है। दुनिया में हम आंख में आंख मिला करके बात कर सकते हैं। और ये मेरा साथ मैं हमेशा कहता आया हूँ, IT plus IT is equal to IT. Information technology plus Indian talent is equal to India tomorrow.
Today, sensitive data is everywhere. Data is located in many places, from on-premises data centers to the cloud. Siloed and legacy approaches can't quickly respond to evolving data privacy and protection regulations, and aren't addressing new hacker tactics, leaving organizations exposed. Data is being distributed across cloud and hybrid environments at accelerated rates to meet the demands of the growing remote workers, further adding to the complexity of protecting sensitive data. A piecemeal collection of data security products operated by an overburdened staff will never meet today's compliance and security challenges. An easier and unified approach to discover, protect, and control sensitive data everywhere is the only pragmatic way to protect your organizations at the rate and scale required by today's risks and transformation initiatives. Data security and compliance starts with finding your exposed sensitive data before hackers and auditors. This data can be in many forms: files, databases, and big data, and can rest across storage on your premises, in clouds, and across backups. Once you've identified databases and file systems that contain sensitive data, you can then apply data-centric protection, such as encryption, granular access controls, and tokenization. For encryption and tokenization to successfully secure sensitive data, the cryptographic keys themselves must be secured, managed, and controlled by your organization. Finally, virtually every data security regulation and mandate requires organizations to be able to monitor, detect, control, and report on authorized and unauthorized access to data and encryption keys. The Cipher Trust Data Security Platform is an integrated suite of data-centric security products and solutions that unify data discovery, protection, and control in one solution. Thales has pushed the innovation envelope to remove complexity from deploying data security, accelerate time to compliance, and secure cloud migrations. The platform provides powerful tools to discover and classify the data that your organization should be protecting, protect against external threats and insider abuse with robust encryption, granular access controls, and tokenization strategies. Control your data wherever it is stored with strong centralized key management. The many solutions available on the Cipher Trust Data Security Platform can be deployed individually or in combination, so you can secure your organization's most sensitive data without increasing deployment and operations complexity. This results in less resources dedicated to data security operations, ubiquitous compliance controls, and significantly less risk across your business. You can rely on Thales to help you discover, protect, and control your organization's most sensitive data, wherever it resides. To learn more, visit Thales' Cipher Trust Data Security Platform.
भारत एक युवा देश है। विश्व में हमने युवाओं की आईटी एनर्जी के माध्यम से अपना रुतबा खड़ा किया है और भारत इसके बात के लिए गर्व कर सकता है। दुनिया में हम आंख में आंख मिला करके बात कर सकते हैं। और ये मेरा साथ में हमेशा कहता है, आईटी प्लस आईटी इज इक्वल टू आईटी। इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी प्लस इंडियन टैलेंट इज इक्वल टू इंडिया ग्रोथ।
Today, sensitive data is everywhere. Data is located in many places, from on-premises data centers to the cloud. Siloed and legacy approaches can't quickly respond to evolving data privacy and protection regulations, and aren't addressing new hacker tactics, leaving organizations exposed. Data is being distributed across cloud and hybrid environments at accelerated rates to meet the demands of the growing remote workers, further adding to the complexity of protecting sensitive data. A piecemeal collection of data security products operated by an overburdened staff will never meet today's compliance and security challenges. An easier and unified approach to discover, protect, and control sensitive data everywhere is the only pragmatic way to protect your organizations at the rate and scale required by today's risks and transformation initiatives. Data security and compliance starts with finding your exposed sensitive data before hackers and auditors. This data can be in many forms: files, databases, and big data, and can rest across storage on your premises, in clouds, and across backups. Once you've identified databases and file systems that contain sensitive data, you can then apply data-centric protection, such as encryption, granular access controls, and tokenization. For encryption and tokenization to successfully secure sensitive...
I welcome all of you after the lunch break. Hope you had a great lunch. And it was a great and wonderful and insightful first half of the day, with great discussions on modern technologies and new insurance business models. And now we move on to further wonderful discussions for the day. And the next panel discussion is on the topic, strategies to survive cyber attacks and technology failures. How insurance companies are shielding their data centers, and cloud. The panelists of this session are Mr. Shashank Bajpai, Chief Information Security Officer of Export Credit Guarantee Corporation of India Limited, Mr. Manoj K. Srivastava, Chief Information Security Officer in Future Generali India Insurance Company Limited, Mr. S.V. Sundar Krishnan, Chief Risk Officer of Reliance Nippon Life Insurance Company Limited, Mr. Siddharth Kaushik, Chief Risk Officer of Canara HSBC Oriental Bank of Commerce Life Insurance, and Mr. Prasoon Srivastava, Senior Solutions Architect, India and SAARC Region, Cloud Protection and Licensing at Thales. And the moderator for this discussion is Dr. Ravi Gupta, Founder and CEO of Elets Technomedia. So I hand over this session to you, Dr. Gupta. I request you to please start the discussion. Thank you.
Namaskar. Welcome everyone. I'm Ravi Gupta. I'm editor-in-chief of a magazine called Banking and Finance Post. And this magazine is around 6 years old, and we have been focusing on innovations in the BFSI sector. And today, we are here with this panel at our FSI Summit, where we are going to discuss about cybersecurity issues. And the topic of the discussion is strategies to survive cyber attacks and technology failures, how insurance companies are shielding their data centers, and cloud. And we have an eminent set of panelists here with us. We have Shashank Vajpayee, who is the Chief Information Security Officer of Export Credit Guarantee Corporation of India Limited. Welcome, Shashank. Thanks for joining us. And we have with us Siddharth Kaushik, who is Chief Risk Officer of Canara HSBC Oriental Bank of Commerce Life Insurance. Welcome, Siddharth. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you. And we have with us S.V. Sundar Krishna. He is the Chief Risk Officer of Reliance Nippon Life Insurance Company Limited. Welcome, Sundar. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Ravi.
Thank you. And we have with us Manoj Kumar Srivastav, who is the CISO of Future Generali India Insurance Company Limited. Welcome, Manoj. Thanks for joining us. And we have with us Prasool Srivastav, who is a Senior Solution Architect, India and SAARC region, Cloud Protection and Licensing from THAIS. Welcome, Prasool. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you. Thank you. So, starting with the first starting question that in the COVID situation, the dependence on the digital delivery of the insurance products has increased significantly, and also a lot of action has happened around work from home in these times, and these factors and several other factors have contributed to massive rise in dependence on digital ecosystem in the insurance industry. So let me ask each of our panelists that how have the security concern evolved in these situations of the COVID. So let me start with S.V. Sundar Krishnan to give your perspective, and requesting each of the panelists to be brief and around 2-3 minutes each, so that we can take multiple rounds of questions. Sundar, we can start with you.
Yeah, so I think COVID has thrown lots of interesting challenges as we grapple with the new risks that have come. I don't know whether you're aware, the last 6 months, about 2,000 cyber incidents have been reported, 1,900 and something odd. And of that, only 10% of the sources detected. 90% has gone undetected. The undetected ratio is far high. So you don't know, the fear is the unknown. The kind of attacks that have come in the last 6 months in terms of phishing attacks, in terms of links being there, in terms of joint attack between cyber and telephone-based spurious calling, as we call it, data leakage, and also the requirements that the organizations face now. Suddenly, somebody wants to access the corporate database using some personal device. Now, do you push the corporate policies into the network and then ensure that the person is able to access? So the management, your question is the management involvement in this. It's very high. And I think it goes right up to the board level and regulator and the shareholder level, stakeholder level. We've had 3-4 documents now being submitted to the board and the regulators, about two documents or 3, which is the revisions in policies, revisions in processes, revisions in technology controls. So the risks are new, risks are more, challenges are more, requirements are more. The threat antenna has gone up. The value also has gone up. Most of the insurance companies have embarked on a digital transformation last 4-5 years. business transformation come digital transformation. And what has happened is the digital transformation is ushered in a lot of digitalization. And if we were at a subpar 30% in terms of digitization, now it's 70-80. And increasingly, we find that more and more transactions are digitally run. And therefore, the top management is involved in a very high manner. We want to push more and more digitization because we don't know how long the COVID situation would continue. Probably people say, given the work from home is working well, why to clog the real estate and costs involved? So probably this is going to be a continuous affair, working from home, working from remote locations. And so these are the new challenges, security challenges. The security challenges are to push corporate policies, ensure you have no data leakage from the home locations, ensure the people are involved in the organization, ensure a collective wisdom is there, ensure meetings take place, ensure the person present may put the video off and go somewhere. And how do you ensure you take pictures then, quietly, so that you see people are involved? And how do you involve people, of course, socially also? So these are the business and digital challenges and security challenges too, because you have new technologies. You embark on something like, for instance, we embarked on EDR. Now I learned there is an XDR that has come up. And soon you find that the technology that you adopted is already obsolete. Something new has come, some new threat has come, malware has come by the day, by the minute. And so it's a catching up act for security and risks. And so you'll have to be always on the vigil, patient. And most importantly, of course, collaboration has gone up. And I think this is the only thing that could save us, better collaboration with all functions, so that everybody is owning security and risks and top management is involved, so that each of us work together. Because the individual brilliance of the hacker you can never beat individually. The system collectively works with so many controls, manual, compensating, judgmental, the brains behind, and of course numerous tools and technologies. So this is what my take on.
Sure. Sure. Sundar, thanks for highlighting this new normal challenges. Let me reach out to Siddharth Kaushik from Canara HSBC on your perspective.
Thanks, Ravi. So, Ravi, if I have to look at it from my perspective, I would say digitization of the business, as Sundar had mentioned, and information security have been two areas wherein we have been focusing for quite long, because these have been two areas. I would not say that it's in the last 3 months or maybe a year that suddenly the focus has come on. So I would say that yes, COVID has increased the risk landscape, but given the way we have been trying to and envisage to run the business, information security has always been one of the key focus areas, and especially owing to the gradual sophistication of the threat vectors and digitization being backed by the digital footprint. So I would say that yes, we were very much well prepared. The only thing is the approach and the response has changed owing to the COVID scenario. There has been a flurry in terms of breaches, in terms of some global events, and especially phishing and all. So I've always maintained that yes, you can put in X number of controls, but at the end of the day, one of the most important controls is making people aware and acknowledge the risk. So that is one area wherein I've seen a lot of work happening right now. In terms of the system deployment and the tools, I would say we were fairly comfortable and we were having the requisite infrastructure. And as Sundar had mentioned, so while we go ahead and ensure that we go to give the hardened devices with VPN connection, but just in case, given that it was a COVID situation, somebody wants to connect a personal laptop, we also had a backup plan ready wherein they can connect to a virtualized environment. So as I said, in terms of the infra, in terms of the tools and all, I would say very much we were prepared. But yeah, in terms of the response, in terms of how to approach, those were key areas wherein we customized our approach and processes as per the need of the hour.
Sure. Thanks, Siddharth, for highlighting this aspect. And let me request Shashank Bajpayee to give your perspective, please.
Yeah, so as both Sundar and Siddharth have mentioned that the scenario and the COVID scenario is completely systems were in place, policies and processes were in place, but it's some or the other thing has gone missing, and they have to pitch in and they have to mitigate that risk and make people aware and everything. So yeah, it has been totally different ball game in this COVID scenario. But because of the advancement of technology and the digitization and innovation curve, which others are also talking about, which has been really accepted in the entire BFSI space, which has helped the entire crisis handling situation better for our entire user base, customers, everything. So having said that, what we had to deal with a lot of cyber threats, cyber activities have increased over the crime-related activities have increased over this period, and also what the trend was basically because we were short-staffed on the vendor side also, so there were limited technology hands and feet support was also kind of missing, and because of all lockdown kind of scenario wherein people could not travel much. And if there had to be certain emergency related patches to be pushed onto the servers, so that kind of IT handling issues had to be basically managed and prioritized accordingly, because first, front and foremost is the defense of the data and data protection. So that is understanding of crown jewels and pushing the policies and mitigating factors in this current scenario has been very challenging. But having said that, it is thankful for the IT initiatives and other innovations which have led to the collaboration kind of environment wherein we could sit at different locations and still work on the same project and deliver it on time. That has been the key thing, and really kind of we could show the return on investment on such tools to the even senior management, stating that earlier there were multiple channels of communication, something like WebEx and everything, which were rarely used because we already have conference rooms and conferencing solutions and video conferencing kind of solutions, but rarely anyone used WebEx kind of software. But nowadays we see this widely used for both internal meetings, external meetings, and it has been really the scenario has basically stepped in and showcased us that this kind of tools are much more acceptable rather than traveling to for certain business locations and everything. So that has also changed in this time. So yeah, so that is what I can add to this.
Sure. Thanks for highlighting this aspect of the online meetings on your videos, because that is the biggest game changer in these situations. Thanks, Shashank, and requesting Manoj to give your perspective, please. Manoj Srivastav, am I audible? Manoj, we can't hear you still. Am I audible to you? Manoj? We can't hear you. Manoj, we can't hear you. Remove your headphone and am I audible to everyone else? Siddharth, am I audible?
Yeah. You are audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Manoj, you are audible.
Yeah.
I get some issue with the headphone.
Yeah, thanks. So, how I see that if we look into work from home environment kind of for COVID, it's not new. We have been, using work from home, but the volume was very limited. Very limited people used to have, VPN connection when they were traveling or for some emergency purpose. And in case of we used to interact with any third-party vendor, then according to risk posture of the vendor, we facilitate them VDI access or VPN access. So the concept of working remotely was not new. However, what change we faced that the volume of work from home, and when someone is working from home, and when people used to come to office, then they were behind of a lot of techno-administrative control, which was, appropriately taken care of. While in distributed environment, suddenly all the technologies were not transformed. So information security, especially data protection, become very very big task, especially bringing a culture of security within the organization. People should understand what kind of risk they are carrying, because information security is not a thing a person or a position can handle, but it's everyone's responsibility. And bringing that culture into organization was really very, very challenging during this pandemic situation. That's number one. And the collaboration tools, people started adopting them. So risk assessment, the methodology we used to have, that also transformed. And the long term and short term strategy has really changed, because there were some past mode of operation, then we are into transition mode of operation, and there will be future mode of operation, which will be very very hybrid kind of cloud and on prem based solutions. So still we are into transition mode of operation, and people are working. I'm sure everyone must be working with long term strategies, where there will be complete change in the security controls. Earlier we used to have firewall. Earlier we used to have on-site proxy. Now since people are connecting from home, connecting to maybe Wi-Fi routers, and connecting from mobile devices, so the concept of technical controls are also transformed. And not only technical controls, but how we are educating our employees, because it takes some time to implement technical control. But if we educate people, then even if there is false positive or lack of technical controls in place, we will be relatively more safe, and the focus is definitely there during this pandemic situation. And of course, this COVID-19 has really accelerated digital approaches. People are going for eKYC, video KYC is also introduced, paperless initiatives have been taken, and similarly the security controls are also been taken care of. One thing is very important, there are a lot of regulation, like if we are going into hybrid solution, if we are adopting cloud kind of thing, then there are regulatory requirements that data should not go beyond geography of our country. So those kind of challenges are there, and a lot of cloud providers, they are working to ensure that the law of land is being taken care of. So it's a joint effort. It's not only organization or service provider. It's a joint effort. People people have started adopting the change, and it will take some time. But yes, the future is very very hyper convergence, hybrid kind of, and distributed environment. So one very important thing that I missed was that earlier we used to have business continuity plan, but suddenly we realized that our business continuity plan was nothing but service continuity plan. How we are leveraging our technical competency to enable marketing and sales. That also the paradigm is very rapidly changing, and social media is also playing very important role in terms of business continuity, may not be directly but indirectly.
Sure. Thanks, Manoj, for highlighting this aspect of the business continuity plans, and that has become a very, very critical aspect in these situations of lockdowns and corona. So, and just yesterday, we had this big power failure in Mumbai. I think that also was another aspect of looking at business continuity aspects more deeply. So, requesting our colleague from the industry, Prasun Srivastava, who is the Senior Solution Architect, India and SARC region, Cloud Protection and Licensing from Thales, to talk about perspective of the industry in this changing cyber security scenarios in the COVID situation. Prasun.
Thank you, Ravi. So I'd like to first start out by saying that the cybersecurity industry as a whole has seen a real spike in their business in the COVID-19 scenario. As think was anticipated to a certain extent. Now, everybody out here has said, how digitization has affected in this situation. Every industry had to adopt to these new changes, and probably we foresee some of these changes to continue further, even beyond COVID. What this has resulted in terms of cybersecurity is what we have seen is most organizations have actually firmed up their crisis management SOPs really well. So I think that was, from our perspective, a much needed and well received aspect. The entire security community out there have gone ahead and created a very robust crisis management plan related to PII data, related to identities of their sensitive privileged employees, so on and so forth. So that has really, I think that initiative and the technical controls or the technology which has been adopted to maintain or stick to that plan, I think that is going to help a lot, especially given that our national security advisor has mentioned multiple times that India is definitely in a high risk period when it comes to cybersecurity. And there are various nation states who are actively trying to disrupt our digital economy out here. So given this situation, I think the fact that most organizations have created a very robust crisis management plan and actually gone ahead and implemented adequate controls to maintain the security of PII data within their organization is amazing. I mean, that's something that we are really happy to note.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Prasood, and very interesting to note that the whole security focus has increased drastically in this situation after COVID has arrived here. So let me talk about, like, many of us have talked about the encryption and also talked about challenges on the work from home, which has increased dramatically after the COVID situation. And one of the important issues has been that encryption. So asking the question that how useful is encryption and key management in the overall security strategy of your organization? Since your digital assets and your laptops are like moving from office to home much more frequently, and different types of Wi-Fi access points are being used. So let me ask Siddharth about this aspect and other challenges which have emerged after this COVID situation, where data is being accessed from outside the office much more frequently. So what are the new security strategies that are being used? Siddharth?
Sure. Thanks, Ravi. So, Ravi, probably I'll address the second part of the question first in terms of the data, because if I have to talk about encryption, I would say it's one of the prerequisites when it comes to today's environment in information security. I don't think that without having a robust encryption and a key management procedure, we'll be able to survive. And while it's a very bold statement, but I'm being very truthful. It's actually a matter of survival. So, in terms of data that you talked about, when people are accessing data, again, the way I would look at it is that how robust is the overall framework that you are talking about. So, if I'm not wrong, we just discussed about the data being shared with the vendors and how it is done. So, it is I would say the entire ecosystem, the entire technology footprint, the entire, I would say, the control environment. And when we go ahead and blend that into, that is the point of time when you have to strategize. To just give you an example, one of the key, I would say, focus areas or unset philosophies that we have in our organization is that if there is any vendor, we would only and only be allowing data transfer through a VDI. That's a virtualized environment. Today, I would not want them to work on their desktops and maybe leave certain stones unturned wherein there is a probability. Does these control go ahead and eliminate the risk? No, risk cannot be eliminated ever. But yeah, we have to take strides in a manner wherein we can go ahead and reduce the probability to a comfort level wherein we do not see a risk escalation, especially with in today's environment wherein we have seen the spike in cybersecurity related events, be it from a phishing related to big events. I would say it's all about planning and execution and what is the scope. So, as I had said in my previous submission also, when it comes to people accessing my data, if I have to talk about my employees, either it has to be through the hardened devices, through a virtual environment, through a two-factor authentication and all. And in case if it is through a personalized device, then it has to go through a VDI environment wherein the device they are using is a dummy. There are certain ways and mechanisms wherein a person can go ahead and the simple thing is clicking photographs. Can you stop that? We cannot. But yeah, it can to a certain extent. We have to minimize by putting in the requisite checks and balances. With vendors, there is no direct transfer of data via even via an SFTP. We have always and always believed that it's a virtualized environment wherein their terminals would be the dummy terminals and they work directly using the virtualized environment. It can be various technologies, maybe something like a Citrix or something of those sorts. But yeah, as to just sum it up, it is the approach which exactly fits into the bill, and it has to be in line with the information and the cybersecurity philosophy of your organization.
Sure, Siddharth. Thanks for highlighting this point. And let me reach out to Sundar and ask him about your views about encryption and key management, and how are you like dealing with these factors?
I think it's one of the important deterrent control because see that leakage is high, and if you get only garbage when you act data and get data, but you find that it's all garbled, it's going to be a very important deterrent. And I think all CIF customer information files should be encrypted. That's the key. Today we find information or news that most of the data is available now in the dark web, so or darknet. So you have a problem there. Therefore, all sensitive, confidential files related to customer should be actually encrypted, and most IT policies say so. The only issue is, of course, it's expensive, and also you'll have to maintain the keys. If you use the key management to encrypt, then you have to take care of the keys. And then that's if you lose that, that will be dangerous. Otherwise, it's an important prerequisite. I remember when I used to be in the banks, we used to do router-to-router encryption, and we'd spend a lot of money. Those days it was 24 crores. So imagine just to encrypt all the traffic that goes through network traffic, router to router. So this is key, and it's important deterrent control, of course, and an important layer of the security. It has to be articulated well in the policy also.
Sure. Thanks, Sundar, for highlighting this cost aspect, which is a very, very important aspect here. Requesting Prasood, I can see him again here, and let me ask him about your perspective on this encryption and key management issues, and how important are they in this scenario?
Oh, I think it's. I think somebody already mentioned it's almost like a mandatory control. To be very honest, from a regulator perspective, was also I think it's almost mandated in most of the industries out here in India, and even what we foresee is when major workloads move to the cloud, which is more or less an eventuality in this scenario. The importance of encryption and data ownership and key ownership in the form of key management would be more and more relevant, because when you migrate your data to public clouds like Amazon, Microsoft, or Google, or whichever platform, the data that you move usually comes under a shared responsibility model. So wherein the customer himself takes up a lot of the ownership associated with the data which is migrated to the platform. So hence the importance of that data being very much under the control of the customer, and using appropriate technical controls becomes very relevant. And encryption and key management in that scenario really is the only available technical control today which we have. uh, I think that answers the question.
Yes. Thank you. And Prasoon, you have highlighted this aspect of moving to cloud, which is of course the trend and the norm. So let me also request Shashank to talk about that, how moving to cloud and each look like bringing in different security risks, and how are you looking at handling them, and of course talking about encryption and the key management. Shashank.
Yeah. So, right, Ravi. So, as Prasun as well as Siddharth said that data encryption at rest, or while in transactions has to be it's like a regulatory mandated for us. And the key thing is basically nowadays with the lot of API related data exchange happening, especially for cloud based. Technical inputs which are receiving, or maybe because the entire insurance industry is very much data based, and each and every, be it the underwriting division or be it the marketing division, everyone basically relies a lot of data to basically write the right policy, write the right kind of marketing strategy. So all the divisions within an insurance industry, they usually depend on data analytics, data database, historical trends, and how it has to be shaped and everything. So right from senior management to the staff on the field, which is trying to capture the market, they all depend on historical data analysis and everything. So not just encryption but also masking of critical data, sensitive data, while we are putting into say Tableau or other different kind of MIS reporting. It is equally critical nowadays. And also, as I said, API-based exchanges with our partners or vendors, wherein they pull in some data or they push in some data to our systems. That also goes through IIS APIs, and we have to basically keep a tap on security keys, as Prasun was saying that to have a robust key-based infrastructure to at least detect and check all the API exchanges are happening in a secure way. Having said that, in the current scenario, as I said, the entire risk has actually converged, because we were keeping personal devices and professional devices completely different. You rightly said you were using different Wi-Fi's because the corporate Wi-Fi was much more secure, but now everyone is working from home. The risk has basically converged altogether, and many security solutions are there on different layers, be it on endpoint or on data. But it is the data aware culture which has to be there, so that they understand as to what is sensitive data, what should not be disclosed, or what should not be posted on their own devices or official devices. So that kind of culture is very much important. And another point was basically related to crisis management or business continuity, as Manoj also highlighted. Earlier, it was, as rightly said by Manoj, it was purely system centric. It was all RTO and RPO. But now we understand that it is person specific also, because we have to not just rely on the processes and systems, but people front also is equally critical. We have to train people, we have to make them aware of cross-functional roles, and make them equally robust and so that the business keeps on running. So these are things which can be said.
Sure. Thanks, Shashank, for highlighting this point of the convergence between the personal and the business is like happening much more in these environments now. And requesting Manoj Srivastava to please talk about new security challenges in these new environments, and specifically if we can talk about the issues regarding moving to the cloud and security and encryption and key management issues. Manoj.
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. When it comes to data security, then it's all about data in rest and data in transit. So for data in rest, we have full disk encryption kind of solutions available, which ensures that if one loses their device while traveling or somewhere, the data will not be available to anybody else. But when it comes to data in transit, then one thing is very clear in nowadays that the data in transit is not happening within my private network. Since things are moving to cloud, a lot of APIs are there. So data is traveling in public cloud, in public network. So what about data security or data in transit? Then the concept of encryption comes in place. It's not new, it's there into system since so long, since our ancient time. You must be knowing that messengers they used to carry king's message from one to other. So the same concept is there, but it's all about algorithms, and that is nothing but key. So since there will be a lot of APIs, there will be a lot of data exchange, information exchange. So there will be a lot of different algorithms used by organization to ensure the risk of decryption is minimized. So there has to be some solution like PKI solutions are available to ensure that there are different kind of keys used to encrypt the data in transit are being taken care of. And definitely when things come to hybrid environment, a lot of services are there on cloud, a lot of services are on private network, private data center, a lot of information exchange is happening. Then one thing is very important: the person who is responsible to secure data must know what is data to organization, and that is nothing but a data inventory. And then the data flow diagram should also be there. What kind of data is in public network but not for public, and then what kind of data is in private network or public network but for public. So that kind of data flow diagram is very important, and according to that diagram, the appropriate technical and administrative controls has to be implemented. So encryption is really very good control to ensure even if my data is intercepted on cloud, it remains meaningless for the hackers, and the confidentiality and integrity is maintained by that.
Sure. Uh, Thanks, Manoj, for highlighting these aspects of data flow and data controls, uh, which is very important. And we are almost at the end of this session. So, requesting all the panelists to give their closing remarks on how do they see the future of security in their own organizations, like evolving in next 2 to 3 years, and specifically how different it will be uh, different from the past. So requesting Siddharth to talk about it. That what is the security roadmap evolving and how to be different from the past. Siddharth.
Thanks, Ravi. So, in terms of the roadmap, definitely there is a long way to go. This will, I would say, there is a maturity cycle and there will be a learning curve that will go. But one of the most important things, and I guess we have not been able to touch base upon that during our discussion today, is how much do we understand the controls that are being deployed? And this is one of the biggest weaknesses that I've seen in the environment today, that there is a business partner which comes, talks about a control, and people, if they do not understand that control, they will spend the money. And every control comes with a cost of control. So one of the key things, if you talk about from a landscape, is that I personally really believe will be very important in the coming days too, is not only going ahead and deployment of the controls, but also understanding of the controls and how to use the controls. Because I have seen many organizations who have spent money and they don't know how to go ahead and use the controls. So we can just spend the entire day talking about the technical aspects and the controls which are available in the market. But the most important thing is which is the right control for the company as per the environment, as per the current situation, as per the scale and size, the data integrity that you have in place, and to what extent your in-house team is well equipped, understand and handle that control. And that's the way I go ahead and look at the roadmap in terms of not only deployment of controls, but adequate understanding and implementation of the controls by the in-house teams also.
Sure. Thanks, Siddharth, for highlighting this aspect of controls.
Sure. And Ravi, before we just move, I have a call, so I'll excuse myself. And it was really nice interacting with everyone. Thank you so much. And we'll maybe stay connected via some means, a digital one, right? So I'll just excuse myself from the call. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Siddharth. Yeah, so much. We enjoyed your talk. Thank you. Bye. Let me request Shashank Vajpayee to talk about the new security landscape evolving for next 2 to 3 years. Shashank.
Yeah, so this is basically we can say the new normal, for cybersecurity is, making user awareness a critical priority. That's what I see. That because as long as people are aware, they understand security and they understand how the applications work or what kind of data is required to share. So that should be the center of the focus to basically make as much resilient workforce as possible. Definitely, security solutions are at pace, because what happens is hackers, they keep on innovating different kind of attacks, with the ransomware kind of attacks, which are specifically focused at denial of data or basically encrypting data by their own ransom key, and then we had to return our cost on operations and we back up all those solutions and everything. So definitely there are mitigative controls and security controls, as even Siddharth was saying, to strategize the key security solution for the industry has to be the focus. The whole point is basically, as rightly said, data and data protection and user awareness. So these three things should be on the focus for any cyber strategy to be running. And frequent drills of business continuity, crisis management, be it from senior management perspective or from say IT operations, or in fact checking the vendor capability type of such kind of scenarios, because they also get hampered with the recent power outage. It was very evident that if the data center vendors were out of diesel generator sets, we would have lost our on time, or we have to basically start shifting to our disaster recovery center. So that is how it is. So keeping these 3-4 things it should be on the priority list for the strategy ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Shashank. And let me just speak to Prasun, that as an industry solution provider at Thales, how are you seeing the cyber security issues evolving in the insurance and overall financial sector?
Well, as I already said, I think currently the industry is looking at how to ensure bare minimum in terms of the digitization that has happened in different aspects where it did not exist before. How to ensure that the bare minimum risks are addressed in those particular areas. However, I think what would happen, and not only us, I think a lot of organizations think the same way, is that a reassessment of the risks associated with different business processes would eventually happen, and that would probably open up areas of discussion and probably help us as an industry come up with new unique solutions to address the change scenario. And that is what we are really interested in and looking out for, because I think we are also evolving from cybersecurity industry as a whole is also evolving from an area where the infrastructure was more I'd say 80%, 90% on-premise, and there were only 10 to 20% services. In the changed context, it's going to go completely topsy-turvy. So the services would be more the infrastructure control or at least the infrastructure on which those services would run would more or less be third-party controlled and managed. So in this scenario, what sort of risks would appear and what sort of additional controls or new technical controls would be needed by organizations is something that we are looking forward to, and we wish to participate with the industry as a whole in order to come up with solutions that can address those requirements adequately. Yeah.
Sure. Let me reach out to Mr. Sundar Krishnan on your views on this topic.
I think while in the past we were more layered, whole approach was layered. You have these crown jewels and then you put in layers of security controls around it. Now it's all unstructured. While there is a structure to overall framework, but it's more business centric, as Prashant put it. And cost effectiveness has become key, as Siddharth put it. And outsourcing controls framework, third party vendor management. This has also become very important. So there is a lot of dynamism and movements, and you'll have to adjust. It's not easy now. So the name of the game is collaboration. You have to be more collaborative as a function. You can't be in your own isolated world. Earlier it was possible. You could be in your own room, data center, in your crown jewels, protected. You have layer, you have technology, you have tools and processes. No more you have that kind of luxury. It's more dynamic, more fast paced, and you'll have to give ownership to business to drive. You have to tell them you are the owner of data security. If data is leaked, you are responsible, not me. I'm going to help you out. I'm a facilitator. Of course, you would be held responsible, but that's the tone has to be different when you speak to them and collaborate. And the ownership has to pass, at least the business ownership of data, and be more a custodian of data. And so this is where the change is. And someone said about risks. Yes, as I mentioned earlier also, last 3-4 months, we've done, I think, several risk assessments and submitted several papers to board and regulator. We were not regulatory also, inside out also, because you've taken more risks which you're very scared of. You want to escalate it and ensure stakeholders are on board, which is what is happening now, which is the environment, and it's going to be like this. It's not going to change. I think for 2 to 3 years to come, it's going to be like this, or probably this is the way it's going to be. It's going to be risk-based approach. It's going to be risk management. You can't avoid risks. It's going to be vendor management, the outsourcing framework that you have, outsourcing policy, outsourcing controls, and risk mitigative controls. So this is the approach. That's the change.
Fantastic. Thanks for highlighting this aspect of the risk management here, which is very, very important. And requesting our speaker, Manoj Srivastava, to give your views of the future and also give a summary of the session as you see it. Manoj.
The future which is going to come is very interesting. The first thing is we have to ensure readiness for unknown. We don't know what kind of pandemic situation or what kind of situation is going to come. So we must be ready for unknown. That is first thing which organization has to transform. Then second thing is a component of digital risk management has to be an integral part of risk management. A traditional approach of information and cybersecurity risk assessment is not going to do. So a major transformation is required as digital risk management, and that too not qualitative but quantitative, so that management can know what kind of risk appetite is there. If something happens, how it is going to impact solvency, what kind of capital is required to handle that situation. So the digitization and the cyber security is going to play a very important role in terms of the capital required to run business, the solvency, and the profitability and rest of the things. But a lot of customization will also be there. I'll give an example that a person is driving car, suddenly he makes an accident. The IoT device will automatically trigger insurance claim. And a lot of background process will already be there. While the person calls to the insurance company, you will got to know that you met accident at this place. These are the photographs. Your claim is already processed, and I need further these information from you to settle the claim. So that kind of advancement is going to come, and digital identity and access management is going to play a very important role in that rest of it. There will be a big transformation with respect to robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, integration of AI, ML, IoT devices, and RPA. And during that kind of circumstances, how information security is going to identify key risk area, and for that, qualitative will not going to serve anymore. Quantitative risk assessment is very much important. That in worst case scenario, what is going to be impacted, what will be financial loss, what will be reputation risk, what will be regulatory compliance risk. So these things are going to come, and we have to look from that perspective. A lot of integration of IoT, AI, ML, PL.
Sure. So, thank you, Manoj. Thanks for giving a futuristic perspective about the whole insurance industry and how it is going to get interconnected with, as you mentioned, about automobiles. There's a interesting situation to visualize that how is IT and digital going to transform the industry itself, which is a very, very interesting aspect to look at. So with this, we can we are at the conclusion stage, and I will just request Prasoon to give a closing remarks to the, for the session, and so that we can conclude it. Prasoon, over to you.
I think it's been a very interesting session. I mean, a lot of the things that have come out are very relevant in today's context, and it has helped at least me to understand what sort of concerns and what sort of issues need to be addressed. And from my own perspective, I've learned a lot, and I'm very thankful for being panelists to help me get that perspective. Thank you very much,
Sure.
Ravi. Yeah.
Thank you, Prasoon. And just last round of this discussion, which is requesting each speaker to just speak one line about future of security in your industry. So just like summarize in one line about your views, starting with Sundar.
Yeah, so data is oil, and data security is pivotal. That's the most important crown jewel for the future, and so you'll have to secure it.
Sure. Thank you. Shashank?
Cybersecurity is all about people, process, and technology. And with all three pillars, and with right training and awareness, then only can get an holistic strategy ahead for cybersecurity. So that is my
Manoj.
Well, so data is new oil, and all kind of security, even if it is attack or we are taking counterparts to prevent the attack, will be in and around to protect data with respect to confidentiality and integrity. So that's going to be very important in cybersecurity, and all the controls will be in and around that. And that's why people have started calling that data is new world.
Yes. So Prasoon, last.
Sure.
I just would add even availability of data also, apart from confidentiality integrity.
Oh, sure. So from my perspective, I think security as a service and for services. I think that's the take I have in this context. And I think as we move from infrastructure to services and design our products around services, it would make more be more useful in the industry. Yeah.
Sure. So excellent point. That security as a service and for the service. That's a very interesting perspective. So requesting each of the panelists that we can now close the session, and thank you so much. Very, very interesting, very enlightening session. And requesting all the delegates who are watching this to please give your feedback and comments on the comment section of the platform, and we will be happy to receive your inputs and suggestions so that we can make our next sessions better. So with this, thank you so much, everyone, and namaskar to you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, the eminent panel and the moderator, Dr. Ravi Gupta. It was a great and insightful discussion. And now we'll be moving on to another short break. I request all of you to please visit the expo. See you all again after the break. Thank you.
भारत एक युवा देश है। विश्व में हमने युवाओं की आईटी एनर्जी के माध्यम से अपना एक रुतबा खड़ा किया है और भारत इसके बात के लिए गर्व कर सकता है। दुनिया में हम आंख में आंख मिला करके बात कर सकते हैं। और ये मेरा साफ मैं हमेशा कहता आया हूँ, आईटी प्लस आईटी इज इक्वल टू आईटी। इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी प्लस इंडियन टैलेंट इज इक्वल टू इंडिया टुमारो।
Today, sensitive data is everywhere. Data is located in many places, from on-premises data centers to the cloud. Siloed and legacy approaches can't quickly respond to evolving data privacy and protection regulations, and aren't addressing new hacker tactics, leaving organizations exposed. Data is being distributed across cloud and hybrid environments at accelerated rates to meet the demands of the growing remote workers, further adding to the complexity of protecting sensitive data. A piecemeal collection of data security products operated by an overburdened staff will never meet today's compliance and security challenges. An easier and unified approach to discover, protect, and control sensitive data everywhere is the only pragmatic way to protect your organizations at the rate and scale required by today's risks and transformation initiatives. Data security and compliance starts with finding your exposed sensitive data before hackers and auditors. This data can be in many forms: files, databases, and big data, and can rest across storage on your premises, in clouds, and across backups. Once you've identified databases and file systems that contain sensitive data, you can then apply data-centric protection, such as encryption, granular access controls, and tokenization. For encryption and tokenization to successfully secure sensitive data, the cryptographic keys themselves must be secured, managed, and controlled by your organization. Finally, virtually every data security regulation and mandate requires organizations to be able to monitor, detect, control, and report on authorized and unauthorized access to data and encryption keys. The Cipher Trust Data Security Platform is an integrated suite of data-centric security products and solutions that unify data discovery, protection, and control in one solution. Thales has pushed the innovation envelope to remove complexity from deploying data security, accelerate time to compliance, and secure cloud migrations. The platform provides powerful tools to discover and classify the data that your organization should be protecting, protect against external threats and insider abuse with robust encryption, granular access controls, and tokenization strategies. Control your data wherever it is stored with strong centralized key management. The many solutions available on the Cipher Trust Data Security Platform can be deployed individually or in combination, so you can secure your organization's most sensitive data without increasing deployment and operations complexity. This results in less resources dedicated to data security operations, ubiquitous compliance controls, and significantly less risk across your business. You can rely on Thales to help you discover, protect, and control your organization's most sensitive data, wherever it resides. To learn more, visit Thales' Cipher Trust Data Security Platform.
भारत एक युवा देश है। विश्व में हमने युवाओं की आईटी एनर्जी के माध्यम से अपना एक रुतबा खड़ा किया है और भारत इसके बात के लिए गर्व कर सकता है। दुनिया में हम आंख में आंख मिला करके बात कर सकते हैं। और ये मेरा साफ मैं हमेशा कहता आया हूँ, IT plus IT is equal to IT. Information technology plus Indian talent is equal to India tomorrow.
Welcome everybody. After the short break, we'll be moving on to the last panel discussion of the day. And the topic is Synergy and Opportunities, Exploring the FinTech Insurance Collaboration. I introduce the panelists to you. Mr. Anup Seth, Executive Vice President and Chief Retail Officer of Edelweiss Tokyo Life Insurance. Mr. Najm V. Bilgrami, Deputy Vice President and National Head, Financial Lines, Tata AIG General Insurance Company Limited. And the session will be moderated by Mr. Vikas Mittal, Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Magma HDI General Insurance. We look forward for a wonderful discussion, and I hand over this session to Mr. Vikas Mittal. Over to you, Mr. Vikas. Thank you.
In 1300 or so, Marco Polo introduced Europeans to monetary marvels that he witnessed in China. And I quote here, he says, the emperor causes the bark of trees to turn into paper, to pass for money all over his country. Eventually, of course, the West also adopted paper money some 6 centuries after China did. More recent foreign travelers to China have come back agog at the next big step for money, the total disappearance of paper replaced by pixels on phone screens. The timing of today's panel discussion, Synergies and Opportunities, Exploring the FinTech Insurance Collaboration, could not have been more appropriate. In fact, next week, there's a monster listing of Ant Group in China, which is the largest FinTech group in China. Right. They're getting listed in Hong Kong and Shanghai. Measured by cash raised, it will probably be the biggest IPO in history, beating Saudi Aramco's last year. Once listed, Ant, which was formed in 2004, would have similar value to JP Morgan value. And JP Morgan was set up in 1799. So what was achieved in 220 years of history has been achieved in 16 years of history by Ant. It portends a bigger transformation of how the financial system works, not just in China, but around the world. In fact, conventional banks now account for only 72% of the stock market value of the global banking and payments industry, which was down from 96% in 2010. Usual businesses of fintechs includes payments. Users can borrow money, they can invest money, they can buy insurance, they can exchange money. Other players like e-commerce players, cab hailing services are joining the fintech bandwagon rapidly. Of course, tech giants such as Apple and Alphabet are also dipping their toes in, tempted by the financial industry's global profits of over $1.5 trillion. Joining me today for today's discussion on how fintechs can increase the insurance cover of the industry, improve penetration, reduce the insurance gap in the country across health, life, asset coverage, home insurance, are Anup Seth, who is the Chief Retail Officer of Edelweiss Tokyo Life Insurance, and Najm Bilgrami, who is the National Head of Financial Lines in Tata AIG. So welcome, guys. Welcome to this
Hi,
discussion.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi,
Nice to be on the panel with you.
I'd like to kick off this discussion, and what we will do is we will, just in terms of housekeeping, I'll open up with the question, all talk about that question, and then move on see how this discussion leads to. I really don't have a playbook to play to, but I have some broad structure in mind, of course. So the first question, and let's maybe agree to disagree on this, is what is a fintech? Let's deliberate on the definition of fintech. Is fintech a company which uses technology to manage its business? Obviously not, because everybody today uses technology to deliver value, to manage its business. Therefore, what is a fintech? Najm, would you like to go first?
Yep. So when we are talking about fintech, today I think every company, and as Satyan Nadella says, that every company is a software company. Every company during their processes, during their delivery, they're using technology, they're using software somewhere or the other. And that's why, like, you can see the changes. You can see the market dynamics changing. We are talking about insurance. Even in Indian market, if you see the public sector companies were ruling the market for so many years, and it's just 2001 when the privatization happened, and in just 20 years you can see the progress which the private insurers have made. It's one of the main reason, if you consider, it is one of the technology, it is the processes which they have adopted vis-a-vis to the public sector company, and today they are like 50% of the market share, having the 50% of the market share. So technology definitely is the future, and every company, and in fact we are slow if we compare with the European market, if we compare with the US market, we are slow in adopting technology. But I can very clearly see companies like Echo, companies like GoDigit, you can see the progress which they have made in like 3 to 4 years, which probably even private insurers took 20 years to reach. So definitely, like when the insurance companies or even for that matter any financial services are provided through a platform, through a technological platform, that's what fintech which we are talking about.
That's an interesting play. Anup, what do you say to this?
So Vikas, after the interesting backdrop that you gave to this discussion, taking it to a level where it's about big players making big structural changes to the market, let me try and give you my definition of fintech. And this has been my trait for the time that I've moved into B school. But I have my own definition about how I see world and life. In my opinion, the fintech, in my opinion, are peak players, which are companies which are using technology to capture customers' new imagination, are solving the customer's problem in a very different way, are companies that are using tech as a pivotal medium of change to be able to make newer segments attractive financial services, to be able to solve companies' problem in terms of delivering unique customized experience. It is allowing companies to be able to do run lower cost of operations than because in the physical world, you always has to put the branch in the location, you have to put up the peripheral infrastructure to be able to generate business. But tech allows you to get off this physical intimidation model and the model of brick and mortar, people, offices. It allows you to make your experience through technology. And in real sense, technology becomes the brand of the company and delivers the experience to the end users, allows you to segment, personalize experience, which you can't do it in the physical world, whether it's through the banks of the world, whether it is through agencies of the world. You can't personalize experience because of limitation of people and their experiences. And technology allows you to do that. So in my opinion, fintechs are new age tech companies, which allows you to sort of capture customer imagination in a different way. And that's what I believe fintechs are all about.
Great points, guys. I think both of you are completely in love with technology. Both of you have echoed the same sentiment, which is and I like what Anup you said, which is fintechs are companies which are capturing the customer imagination. And if I were to parse the other part of what you said, is that technology becomes the brand and delivers value to customers. And that's exactly what Najm also was mentioning. So for the purpose of this discussion, can we just define fintech as companies that use technology, because there is finance and technology to this.
Yeah.
They are composed of companies that use technology to make financial services more efficient. They have to bring in the financial services aspect as well. Though, of course, technologies make changing lives elsewhere as well. But for the purpose of this discussion, let's agree to agree with that definition and let's take this to it. And let's talk about my favorite person, which is the customer.
Yeah.
In your opinion and in your experience, how can fintechs get more people involved in insurance to ensure that larger percentage of population buys insurance? How can they impact customer awareness and education about insurance?
Yeah.
So let's start with Anup first this time and then go to Najm.
Okay. Thanks, Vikas. That's an interesting question. In my opinion, technology can be the lowest cost for disseminating information to the large mass of population. But for that, you need a medium to have access to consumers. And, today, just to give you some context, the public domain numbers, there are over 36 crore Indian consumers which are actively using web stroke commerce to transact on some category or the other. There is, thanks to mobile data and thanks to companies like Jio, which have sort of brought the data cost to a very different level, it has got the whole world onto online medium. E-commerce in India is rampantly growing. Like you gave an example of China. China online commerce is ahead of physical commerce. So modern retail commerce is behind China digital commerce in the last half a decade or more. In India, that's also expected to happen. The transaction volumes that some of the large e-commerce like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra of the world are bringing on board, IRCTC and the others, and travel, is bringing a new set of consumers online. Now, at one end, there is a digital disruption that's happening in India. The other end, there is e-commerce, which is acquiring consumers and bringing a new set of consumers online. And the other end, there are technologies which now allow you to be able to create segmented propositions and personalized experience for that. What we need to think about, and when the word fintech comes, fintech is all about creating larger leverage of ecosystem. And ecosystem are about people who have access to consumers, manufacturers who have ability to create customized product, technology companies which can create platforms, digital payment source which can create disruption on the payment side of the thing. All of us need to come together and create a sort of a conglomerate ecosystem which is able to bring smarter, unique propositions to end consumers. And I can tell you, for example, quoting from my own company, which is now in the public domain, we've tied up with a company called MobiQuick, which is on the payments wallet space. And we've been able to access very large amount of consumers, which at the cost which is 1/20th of the cost if I had to go through my traditional channels. So we're able to access a large set of consumers. Now, even if you go back and look at fintech players on the web aggregator, the guidelines of the web aggregators encourages web aggregators to grow the business and create a unique platform for consumers. The cost at which we access through a web aggregator, largely Policybazaar and the likes, is much lower than what we attract to other traditional mediums like agency, direct, corporate agency, brokers, and very high quality. In fact, let me give you another perspective. When you said you like to talk about a person called customer, the customer behavior on the online medium is of a very different order than offline.
Now, let me take a controversial statement here so that that becomes a sort of a debate. I firmly believe that the consumer, when it comes online, his behaviors are a lot different than that when he's transacting offline. Which means the same customer will transact offline and online, but when he comes to online, his behaviors are different. His beliefs are same, but his behaviors are different. Which means his expectation sets are different. And companies which can capture this imagination of looking at this guy in a new light and not treating him like he treats him in the offline are companies which are able to sort of bring new consumers on board, capture new experiences, create businesses of meaningful size and scale. But it has to be done with this whole economical ecosystem that has to be built out. That's my view on this one.
Very interesting, Anup. I picked up three things. One is, the cost to access customers online is far lower. We need to come up with smarter propositions.
Yeah.
And the third one is, of course, as you said, customer behavior is different online and offline. But I'd just like to stay with you for a second more and ask you to elaborate this more. How do you see the behavior of the customer different online as compared to offline? Give me 2 or 3 instances or 2 or 3 ways in which he behaves.
So let me give you some anecdotal use cases around this one. And let me now give you an example of e-com and then move to fintech or my category of insurance in particular. Traditionally, when we were, sort of going through the Kali Pili transport mode vis-a-vis the Uber Ola, I don't think there is any experience in parallel to draw between those two, right? The car quality, the wait time, the transparency of the cost, the service efficiency, and everything is a much better experience on the Uber Ola and vis-a-vis the Kali Pili. Now I'm making a point. If the taxi fellows will not evolve their experiences to what the Uber Olas of the world were able to deliver, they went out of business. Yeah. Similarly, what happened is, let's say the travel industry, the Make My Trip, the Yatras of the world did a far better choice, far better cost efficiency, far better transparency than the travel agent could do. They went out of business. In my opinion, there was the same consumer who was getting experience from Kali Pili or the taxi fellow vis-a-vis got from Uber Ola. The same guy was getting a experience from the travel agent vis-a-vis getting from the online commerce travel. He migrated. In my opinion, the same consumer is now getting an experience from the e-commerce of the world. Yeah, the Amazon of the world, where what you see is what you get, the time they committed is what you get, our return policy is instant, the gratification, the coupons, the value adding on the whole thing, the personalization on your shopping, which means what you buy today, tomorrow recommendation is based on what you bought today, what you're likely to buy. If that's the experience this guy is getting right now, that's the experience this guy is getting now on transacting e-commerce. Imagine your offline world experiences of not doing need analysis, pushing products based on what you felt was right for him and what mattered for the commission or distributor agent. Look what will the online disruption will do. They'll offer him personalized experience, personalized products, customized to his needs, deliver him transparency of experience that he gets on e-commerce. Why will he transact offline? Until as the offline world migrates to capturing the new age of customer expectation sets that he's getting exposed thanks to his exposure on e-commerce and travel and everything, he will expect the same things. Why will a user, and I'm asking a very typical question, I can ask you and Najmul and Vikas, you are, one end getting 9 or 10 experiences in your real world product buying, which are e-commerce in nature, which are superior, which are delightful, which are customized, which are personalized, which are transparent, which are not opaque. Why will you transact on financial services which are opaque? You will question it. And platforms that will deliver the true e-com experience, which is delivering based on new behaviors and new experience sets of consumers, will capture the market. It's happened on the aggregator market. It's matter of time that a company, a manufacturer will behave truly digital, truly e-com, truly customer first, and will sort of clean the market up. And the example that you started off your thing, and Pyongyang has got more individual distributors for them than the whole country of India, than the LIC of India. Now, if it could happen in China, we will be naive that it won't happen in India. It will be only our naiveness and our ability to close our eyes on realities and think that won't happen to India. It will happen.
I got that. So what you're saying is customer behavior will shift from buying offline or accessing products propositions offline to online because of various factors that you rightly mentioned. Let me just take this question further to Najm, which is, then actually Anup started by saying that the customer's behavior is different online and different offline. How would you react to that statement? And I'll then come back to the original question that we started off with, but just let's stay with this.
So there are two things which I noticed in a statement and which I echo. One is the customer is looking for value for money. So which they are able to evaluate when they're transacting online. So that has become very important. And in several meetings within the company, when we talk, we are trying to create the value for money. And when we are talking about this, we're talking about technology who can evaluate, who can judge the customer delight, the customer experience when we are providing those services through these technological platforms. And the other thing which is slightly different is customer is also observing all these things, and when it's an offline transaction, probably you will see a different behavior of the customer. But at the same time, when they're doing these things on a platform wherein things are getting recorded, your behavior, your transaction, the way you transact, the way you make the payments, all these things are getting recorded. And somewhere down the line, like I have heard people talking about they are actually observing the customer behavior, and then probably like 2 to 5 years down the line, the customer will be rewarded on the basis of their payment promptness, on the basis of the way they transact. So customer is also aware of this fact, and somewhere back of his mind, he is aware that all these things will contribute while getting the services, and the way the customer will be treated by these financial services organizations. So I think these are the two major factors. One is, of course, value for money, and the other thing is like they are aware that, okay, my behavior is observed, and then subsequently I will be rewarded for that. That is another very important thing which technology is helping us to do.
That's a great point that, since anything that we do online leaves a footprint and results in either a structured or an unstructured data being available for analysis, causes us to behave differently. I've also noticed two more things as I interact, or as I see people interacting on the internet. Number one, people are more driven by propositions and by speed rather than by looking for the perfect fit for themselves and going shop to negotiate. So I see a much lesser negotiation happening on the internet, and that could probably be because e-commerce itself ensures that there is a variety of price ranges of products that are available. That's one. The second behavior I've seen is that internet or e-commerce actually provides the customer a sense of isolation, which means there's a sense of anonymity, not isolation as much as it is about anonymity. And therefore, I can actually leave a comment, a review on the website of, let's say, a Swiggy or an Ola or Uber, telling them about my experiences, and that will count for something.
Yeah.
And therefore, and the reverse is also true. I mean, the Uber app, Uber driver actually rates me also.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
So my behavior, how I behave offline, is impacting my online persona. So yes, great point, Anup, that you brought out about behaviors being different online and offline. Now, just want to go back to what I asked Anup, and that's where we started off from. How do you think fintechs can get people to engage more with insurance, larger number of people buying more insurance, and how can they create more customer awareness and education regarding insurance?
See, it is helping the insurers or all the financial services organization to reach, to broaden their reach. Because like when you're talking about an industry which is just 20 years old, and there's huge investment, and a country like India, wherein like it's a so big country, and then you have regions where probably a new insurer or a newcomer may not want to start their operations. But then because of these social media platforms, all these technology, now they can reach to those customers, probably not offline but online. And if they make a customer feel that they have the value of in their product, they can provide a platform to their channels wherein they can see ease of doing business. Definitely, like it will make a lot of difference. And then as I said, like these are companies like, as I said, the classic example is Echo and GoDigit. They're doing like what they have done in 4 to 5 years on the technology platform is amazing if you see their performance. So that's what like my point is.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move to what you both have mentioned about data being available online, which is you leave a footprint on the website. You leave there are companies which are trying to eke out your behavior and therefore reward you or provide propositions to you. Let me just spend one more minute on that, which is there's a lot of data which is structured or unstructured which is available online. How do you think fintechs, or in your experience, how have you seen fintechs use that data, leverage that data to meet the to meet the needs of the customer insofar as insurance is concerned? So very specifically to insurance, how have you seen fintechs use data? So maybe we can again go back to Najm and ask him to talk about it.
When it comes to fintech, they're using these data in several manners. In fact, if you see the existing customers, the existing probably like users or buyers of like motor insurance, they have been approached, the need have been identified. In fact, the policy which has provided covers with respect to COVID, that is another classic example wherein like the insurers have used mobile platform, the insurers have used online platform to reach out to the customer at the time of need and provided the much needed cover at that point of time. So as I said, like there are several means. When it comes to claims, you can see, and even for that matter, if there is a break in insurance, the way the insurers have started using these technologies wherein a customer can click the photographs, do the own survey, and then send it to the insurance company, and then the insurance company are okay to provide the immediate cover. So all these things, and even not only in the retail side, even if you go to the consumers commercial side, wherein the surveys are happening online, drones are used to do survey, drones are used to do claim assessment. So these things like are helping a lot to the insurance company and subsequently providing a value proposition to the customers and the channel partners.
That's a great point. Anup, what do you have to say to that?
So in my opinion, let me add a little color to the previous point, and then I'll move to this point also. I think the point that you're making is how e-commerce can help grow the financial services category. I think a lot depends on not only the regulator, which has now come up with e-commerce guidelines in 2017 March, also the ISMP guidelines has been in place, and also now with the regulator looking at sort of these sandbox sort of experiments which are allowing new products to get created. The role of regulator, I think, is very well placed. I think they are obviously marching ahead on building the sort of the market ecosystem for it. What I think is the biggest problem, and I would like to say that the manufacturer are themselves not ready, both from a mindset, because in my opinion, you can create business only if you have the right beliefs, because beliefs create behaviors and behaviors create businesses. The mindset of the manufacturers are still very traditional, old world, and Unfortunately, technologies that they've implemented are also bulky, old world enterprise solutions, which do not have the flexibility to sort of API the whole world, and which provides constraints to e-commerce players, because e-commerce players are all about agility, innovation, quick sprints. Our manufacturers are of the old school. They completely behave in a manner where they operate this as a traditional medium, and which is where I think this bubble, which is looking like a great potential, is not becoming big, because all of us are trying to experiment with our constraint. And e-commerce is not about constraint. I've been on the web for 20 years. Whatever little gray hair I have is I spend on the digital medium. I understand the medium very well, and I firmly believe that companies which don't orient themselves digitally or think online won't succeed, because online requires not the hierarchical view of life where there is a product guy, the natural guy, there's a legal, there's a compliance. You all have to make one symbiotic unit which is cracking towards one problem solving, towards one objective, and that's when you create innovative products and solutions around the whole thing. So that's one piece of why fintechs and have not been able to create a sort of a massive line of business for the traditional manufacturers. The other thing that I want to bring color before I answer a question on ability to use data and bring data into information to make decisions and models. The biggest problem in life is about if you look at e-commerce of 2004 and e-commerce of 2020 are very different worlds. What was e-commerce of 2004 or 10 was an e-commerce of discovery, which means consumers went onto the web when they got a deal, when they got a price off. Today, e-commerce has become such a big category because people go for planned purchase. You will not be able to create a online disruptive business till you become a destination. As long as you remain dating and flinging, you will get some slice of the market. You will not get a permanent market. The permanency of market comes only once you have a mindset of creating leadership, domination, and not by creating presence. And the last thing that I want to say here before I move on to the point on data is, online has a very unique ability to create market without putting physical infrastructure. But online also can create a market of commodity. You will not be able to capture customer imagination and bring new solutions and segment new customers if you're going to build commodity. The last thing you want to do is make insurance into commodity, because commodity will never make money for anybody, not for the e-commerce, which is intermediary, not for the manufacturer, not for the customer. If insurance companies don't make money, they will never be able to capture new imagination of customers, deliver superior service, because you won't make money. And finally, we all are in the life insurance space. We know expense of management, right? It plays a very important role for the regulator looks at you from a profitability angle. So I think we've got to stay away from making traditional organization behave e-commerce. You need to create an e-commerce mindset. You need to be very mindful of not of having a mindset of creating a destination, not an opportunist trade. You need to also be aware that it cannot be a commodity. It has to be into a priced, valued offering for consumers, because if you're going to spend thousands of dollars on building technologies, organizations to bring new service to consumers, you want to get charged. You want to make money. You don't want to be non-profitable. You're not an NGO. You're not a profitable organization. Moving to your point, Vikas, which is on data. Now, there's enough data that's available about our consumers today on the web. I don't know how much insurance companies are using it. Do they have the mindset? Do they have the technologies to track data? Do they have the big data lakes to be able to analyze data? Do they have the data scientists on board to be able to analyze data? I can give you a matter of fact. If I give you one use case, since you're in business, on the web, you're allowed to, track, segment a consumer who's saying, let me say somebody who's looking for motor insurance for Hyundai, I can go on Google, bid for a keyword, right from the time from which site he comes from, clicks on the bid, to comes to my platform, navigates, sees content, transacts. I can make an active consumer life cycle story and be able to pinpoint what is my cost of acquisition, what's my repeat purchase cost. How many companies are today have the ability, the mindset and the infrastructure to do it, to track consumer behavior, to track consumer cost, to be able to build active consumer proposition, life cycle management. Very few companies have the ability. Data is abundant. There is so much data that, me, consider myself an avid internet guy. But I still struggle with my own thing on bringing the right e-commerce talent to my organization, both from a tech and the business side, who understand insurance, who understand technology, who understand the digital consumer and their expectations, and who understand distribution. Because you may understand tech, you may understand product, but you may not understand distribution. Without distribution, there's no money made for anybody. But the moot point is data is available, and there are enough and more applications which are freeware available, freeware, to track data. Google itself provides you Google Analytics, Google Advanced, everything on the fly. There are, we've invested in a technology called Adobe and Web Engage from a data analytics point of view, and from a dynamic CRM point of view. Clearly, we have more use cases than our ability to execute, and some that we executed well, we're making a lot of money on that, a lot of profitable money. In fact, we're able to make profitable decisions on underwriting based on data. Profitable decision underwriting. We're making mortality profit. There's a very few companies in the market which will have A by E profitable, but we are able to do that because of data analysis, data scientists, the machine learning ability that we have built. So immense data is available. My moot point. Sorry, long answer for a short question, but
no, but very intriguing. All your experiences of having set up online e-commerce business and selling it off early in your career is completely showing up in the way you approach the question. So very rich experience which you've been able to bring in this conversation. So the last question, I'm critically aware of the time. We are already at 33 minutes of our discussion. So the last question, and start off with Najam. Najam, in your opinion, what is the regulatory framework missing today, which needs to be filled up to make fintech sell insurance more pointedly and in a more organized manner?
So when we talk about the regulator, if I have to answer in one word, the speed is missing. And they also have to look at things broadly. Currently, what we understand, being a new regulator, even if we talk about our regulator, it's a new regulator as compared to what we have in other countries. So at this point of time, they're more on documentation is too much. And because of that, new ideas, new things which an insurer or which a fintech company wants to introduce in the system takes lot of time, and probably because of that idea itself become redundant by the time you have approvals in place. So that is something which is very important and which is missing, and probably we as an industry, we need to think on that. And as I said, it's just in word, it's the speed which is required.
Yeah. So I'll give Anup a little rest. But in my mind, I think you've kind of articulated well, which is speed and the documentation that is required. And to my mind, I think the whole distribution framework needs to be relooked at, because insisting on every fintech to be a kind of a registered intermediary itself is something that one can debate about. Saying why is that required? As long as the customer is really making a choice, there is a manufacturer who's making a proposition or a product available on a fintech's platform. Why should the distribution framework not be relooked at? the whole solicitation guidelines, etc., which might need a little bit of a change, given the fact that these were guidelines which were relevant for a world when the customer could be forced to buy something, could be sold something that he doesn't want. But today, when he's talking about online, he's talking about e-commerce, he's actually making a free will of selecting a product, etc. So maybe that is something that from a regulation standpoint we could want to make fintechs more successful in distributing insurance. But apart from these three things, Anup, very quickly, anything that comes to your mind?
Okay, so I think very valid points, Nazmul and Vikas, on this one. My opinion is, I think the regulator has done his due in terms of putting forth the guidelines on the e-com, ISMP, fintech. Now, just recently, video PIVC has been approved. Obviously, speed, as we all say, could be better, but I think the regulatory broader framework is in place. I think what we require, and this is Indian, right, is one success story on e-commerce, which will happen if a manufacturer and an e-com player sees this opportunity, creates a very winning proposition. And once that is done, I can tell you India is very good at replicating. Your example on China, they're good at copying, but India is good at replicating faster, better than anybody else in the world. The number of startups and fintechs on e-com, travel, everything was fastest in India than the world. We just need to be patient to build one serious big opportunity. And a serious big opportunity means somebody which can create a double-digit market share. I can give you one example of a company that I work very closely with, is Policy Bazaar. They've been able to do that in web aggregator space. Now everybody wants to do it. They are a serious one. I think they're valued at about $1.5 billion, and now everyone wants to do it, and that's India. We need one serious e-com partnership which disrupts the market, which captures the consumer imagination, which becomes a go-to to market formula to it, and it will get replicated. We are in the quest of doing it. I'm sure others will also. I think we got disconnected. That's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ashish. Thank you, Nazmul. Really happy to talk on this one, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
I felt I learned a lot.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anup and Najmi, for joining us this morning. I think the whole idea of fintechs being the pivotal factor in making financial services or insurance is a basic right for every human being is a story that is developing, and I think we are at the right time, at the right place to participate in that story. So thank you very much for spending your time, and I really appreciate your discussion. Really enjoyed myself, hosting this discussion. So yeah, thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye, guys. See you.
Thank you so much, eminent panel and moderator, Mr. Vikas Mittal, for this great discussion. And here we move towards the end of the second day of Elets Financial Services and Insurance Summit. And with that, it's a move towards the end of the summit as well. And we had great discussions today also on various insurance business models, on the modern technologies, how to survive the cyber attacks, fintech insurance collaboration. It was really a great day. And I thank all of you for great participation and making this summit of 2 days a great success and of great quality. So to thank all of you and to deliver the end note, I now request Dr. Ravi Gupta, founder and CEO of Elets Technomedia, to kindly address all of us and kindly do the formal end of the summit. Dr. Ravi Gupta, over to you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome you all again. Thank you for joining us for this 2-day very exciting summit on financial services and insurance. We named it as a FSI summit. And as you would have seen, we had eminent speakers from across the industry, from insurance and the NBFC sector and IT industry, who talked about various challenges and opportunities of using digital in the COVID era. I wish to thank our sponsors, Thales and Rah Infotech, who were our cybersecurity partners, and Newsoft Technologies, who was our associate partner for this summit. We are also excited to announce our upcoming events. We are going to organize 3 very important and very exciting summits in December. The first is Elets Data Center Summit, which will be focusing on the issues around data center and cloud. And in each era of virtualization and remote working, data centers and clouds are evolving big time, and we are going to specifically discuss about new trends and technologies in the field of data centers. The second summit we are going to organize is around artificial intelligence and blockchain. It's called Elets AI and Blockchain Summit. And as we are aware that artificial intelligence is being used in every sector, from agriculture to insurance to banking to health to education and to government and several other sectors. So we are going to build up a very, very exciting summit around artificial intelligence and blockchain, where we will invite the industry stalwarts to talk about the progress in these sectors. The third very important event we are going to organize is, it will be called Elets BFSI Cloud and Security Summit. And in these times of COVID, where the digital adoption has grown multi-fold in all the sectors of the economy, the security concerns are emerging day by day. And we are going to discuss these issues and challenges and opportunities in the area of security in this summit of BFSI, Cloud and Security. So please visit us on our website www.eletsonline.com and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and all other social media handles, and remain updated on ICT innovations happening across the sectors. With this, I thank you again. This is Ravi Gupta, CEO and founder of Elets Media Private Limited. Thank you for joining us in this 2-day FSI event, and also inviting you to participate in our future conferences which are happening on. With this, thank you and namaskar.